Oyez, oyez. Merc Radio, the talk show, is now in session. Before we get started, I want to remind everybody that we are brought to you by BARKBOX and Atlas VPN. Exclusive link in description. Let's do this. Good morning, gang. We are live. I got the hood on. Alright, we got some Ghislaine Maxwell updates. Everybody. And they're pretty, I mean, you know, we're just, the trial is continuing. I thought I read something this morning that they had postponed it, but we'll see if that actually happens. Let's read this little update real quick. An expert witness took the stand on the fourth day of Miss Maxwell's sex trafficking trial to describe the process by which abusers select and indoctrinate their victims. And again, so like the key headline for the update today is an expert witness explains a key concept in Ghislaine Maxwell's trial: grooming. Ghislaine Maxwell, let's a description of who that is. That's who that photo is, gang. Boom, let me large screen that. There we go. Adults who sexually abuse children often use a methodical 5-step process that involves selecting a victim using lies, deception, and manipulation to set the stage for abuse, then controlling their victim to carry out the abuse and avoid detection. An expert witness in Ghislaine Maxwell's sex trafficking trial told jurors Thursday morning. That process is known as grooming, and it's central to the prosecution's case against Miss Maxwell, who is on trial in federal court in Manhattan and accused of helping her longtime companion Jeffrey Epstein abuse girls as young as 14. Prosecutors have said that Miss Maxwell played a pivotal role in Mr. Epstein's abuse, bringing them into his world by taking some of the girls shopping, presenting herself as a mentor of sorts, and instructing them on how Mr. Epstein liked to be touched. The expert witness, Lisa Rocio, has not interviewed any of the 4 women whose testimony is expected to provide the main basis for the prosecution of Miss Maxwell. Rather, she said in court her testimony was based on 30 years of experience as a clinical psychologist, during which she treated hundreds of people who had been sexually abused as children. Childhood sexual abuse is a process, Dr. Rocio told jurors, adding that it begins with the selection and identification of a victim. Abusers first try to obtain access to their victims and isolate them, then use falsehoods and manipulation to build trust and attachment. Next, Dr. Rocio testified, abusers generally try to desensitize children first by acclimating them to physical touching. That step in the process is often accompanied by physical proximity, like sitting close to a child. Abusers then often work at normalizing sexual activity by discussing sex, telling sexual jokes, and engaging in massages. Finally, Dr. Rocio testified, all of that escalates to sexual abuse. Often, she said, abusers select victims who seem to be lacking something in their home lives, perhaps because they are living in chaotic circumstances or not receiving as much attention as they need. The abusers put themselves in a position to meet those unmet needs, she said, to create a false sense of family. Which, as we know about we know Jane yesterday, unidentified woman named Jane, she went in to testify. She was cross-examined, and there's kind of a clear pattern of grooming here. They found a girl, a little background on Jane. Her father was a famous composer who passed away. The year he passed away, she's at Camp Interlochen in 1994. And that's when she's approached by Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein, and that relationship starts there. But there is kind of this same pattern of grooming. They get these girls used to touching people physically with these massages and shit. And again, the close proximity and what have you. Let's see. The process that she outlined appeared to correspond closely with what a prosecutor described to jurors during the government's opening statement. The prosecutor, Laura Pomerantz, said that the sexual abuse alleged in the case started with Epstein lying face down for so-called massages. That escalated, she said. Mr. Epstein touched the girls sexually and directed girls to massage him while he masturbated, among other sexual activities. But long before that abuse began, Ms. Pomerantz told jurors Ms. Maxwell helped Mr. Epstein find and recruit his victims. The defendant took these girls on shopping trips, asked them about their lives, their schools, their families, Ms. Pomerantz also said during her opening statement. She won their trust. She discussed sexual topics with them. She helped normalize abusive sexual conduct. She put them at ease and made them feel safe, also that they could be molested by a middle-aged man. And this is written by Colin Moynihan for the New York Times. Again, special shout out all week this week to the New York Times, who has been covering this kind of minute by minute and updating their website and updating this article I've been reading. Also, shout out to the New York Post, who is doing it, but this is where I likes to be to get my news on this case. I like how thorough they're being. Hey, good morning, Stanye. Oh, dude, like, the fourth track on that record's fucking sick. The whole record, though, Stan. I got beats to send you. We got to do a record together, Stan. Boom. I have a link at a discount at Beige Sellers, $5 off snakeskin necklaces while supplies last, and don't forget the Secret Santa in Discord. Word, there you go, yeah, Anthony. Yeah, you Gentiles get on down on some Secret Santa, baby. Let's see. 4 takeaways from the third day of the Ghislaine Maxwell trial. That's all from yesterday. So this is the closest update we have on Ghislaine Maxwell. We have some other news. I'm going to put this video on. We covered the shooting, the school shooting that happened the other day. Here's an update on the school shooting.
Now to the latest in that deadly school shooting in Michigan. The 15-year-old suspect charged as an adult with 4 counts of murder. Trevor Ault has the latest.
Overnight, 500 people attending a vigil to honor the 4 victims who lost their lives in Tuesday's deadly Michigan school shooting, as we're learning new details about the investigation. Authorities saying they recovered videos from the suspect's cell phone taken the night prior, where he talked about shooting and killing students the next day.
We've had the opportunity to review that surveillance video just this morning. And what's depicted on that video, honestly, Judge, I don't have the words to describe how horrific that was.
They also recovered a journal detailing his desire to shoot up a school. The prosecutors describing how the suspect first entered a bathroom with a backpack and came out holding a gun.
At that point, he methodically and deliberately walked down the hallway, aiming the firearm at students and firing.
At his first court appearance, 15-year-old Ethan Crumbley pleaded not guilty to 24 criminal charges Wednesday, including 4 counts of first-degree murder and terrorism. He is charged as an adult. And his parents also appearing virtually at his arraignment.
You are the parents of Ethan Crumbley, is that correct?
Yes, correct.
That is correct.
They may face charges themselves after investigators learned the gun the suspect used was purchased by his father just days earlier. And the sheriff says the couple had been to their son's school just hours before the shooting for a meeting with school officials about his behavior. A law enforcement official says investigators are now pursuing information that the night before the attack, some students watched a Snapchat video warning of a shooting the next day. And some of those students stayed home from school.
Whoa.
Nobody tipped off the police.
The fact that I heard 2 of the gunshots and those probably either hurt somebody or even killed somebody is just insane to me.
And the community remembering those taken too soon. 14-year-old Hannah St. Juliana, 16-year-old Tate Meir, 17-year-old Madison Baldwin, and 17-year-old Justin Schilling, a member of the Oxford bowling team who succumbed to his injuries Wednesday. The Oxford High School sign, now a memorial to those young lives lost.
And the prosecutor explained the terrorism charges because the impact of the shooting is so widespread. There's 1,800 students here, and so many of them had to hide or run for their lives. Plus the trauma all their families experienced. The prosecutor stressed you did not need to be shot to be victimized. Michael?
All right, thank you so much for that, Trevor.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel.
That's the scoop on that. That's a tragic ass story, guys. I think it's a little strange the 15-year-old's being charged as an adult when I think he's probably there's got to be something psychiatric going on with that kid, right? I mean, he doesn't vibe to me like somebody who's necessarily mentally, he might be suffering from some kind of something, actual delusions, things like that. You know, it's a little different than Nick Cruz. You know, Nick Cruz who pretended to be crazy. I wonder what's actually going on in this kid's head. This kid's 15, being tried as an adult, and the parents might catch a charge for him having, sounds like, taken one of their guns. I bet that charge doesn't go anywhere, because they'll probably prove or he'll confess to have taken the gun. Hey, good morning, Debbie. Good morning, all you Murkies. Pile on in, baby. We're rapping about the new special guest going to be here in a minute. We're going to do the tattered map today. And, you know, have a good 5th night of Hanukkah. 4th? Am I fucking tripping? I might be... But, you know. Yeah, Debbie. It's going to be a sick day today. But at the top of the show, if you're just now piling in, we updated on the Ghislaine Maxwell trial. They're showing a history of grooming, which, again, that's exactly how it seems. Ammo supplier from film set shooting speaks out. Oh, shit. The ammo supplier from Rust, where Alec Baldwin accidentally shot the director of photography and director.
It's on Alec Baldwin. In my exclusive interview, he says he did not pull the trigger in the tragic accident that killed cinematographer Helena Hutchins. And now the lawyer for the AD on the film Rust is speaking to Kaylee Hartung. We're also hearing from the owner of a prop arsenal that provided guns and ammunition to the movie. Good morning, Kaylee.
Good morning, George. As Alec Baldwin opens up for the first time to you, others who witnessed the shooting are becoming more comfortable speaking up. The assistant director, who was just feet away from Baldwin, now corroborating that stunning detail that Alec Baldwin never pulled the trigger. New this morning, a lawyer for the movie's assistant director, Dave Halls, responding to George Stephanopoulos' exclusive interview with Alec Baldwin, saying her client also maintains that Baldwin never pulled the trigger.
The entire time, Baldwin had his finger outside the trigger guard, parallel to the barrel, and that he told me since day one he thought it was a misfire. I know. And and until Alex said that, it was just really hard to believe. But Dave has told me since the very first day I met him that Alec did not pull that trigger.
Also, the owner of a prop arsenal that provided guns and ammunition to the production of Rust is speaking exclusively to ABC News, but asking for his face to not be shown.
PDQ Arm and Prop supplied the guns, the blank ammunition, and 50 dummy rounds to the show.
As the investigation continues to try to determine how live rounds wound up on the movie set and led to the death of Helena Hutchins, a new search warrant sending authorities to collect evidence from Seth Kenny's Albuquerque business, PDQ Arm and Prop. But Kenny says
Stanody, apparently they're saying it was a misfire.
What was found on the set.
And his finger was parallel to the barrel.
Rounds that
as it should be when you're not
to
finger on the trigger.
Take in with them. They're not a match, but they were close. So there's something very unique about the live rounds that were found on Rust, but we've got to wait for the FBI to do its job.
Kenny, a vendor,
what up, gang of special guests,
providing invoices to ABC News showing the purchases by Rust, but he says he wasn't their only provider.
Hey, special guest, we're fucking catching up on this Rust business right now.
Yeah, the guns don't just go off.
The armor fucking spoke out. That's okay. So I was wondering what you were gonna say about a misfire.
That's not a misfire. A misfire is when you go to, like, they're using the wrong word. A misfire is when the gun functions correctly. And the round fails to go off. Or you could say, if the gun functions incorrectly, but within a revolver, that's not a thing that can happen because of the physics involved. The hammer on that gun had to be back. And if it dropped the hammer without...
Because it's a revolver, that's right. That's right, it's an old West film.
If it dropped the hammer, because it's a Peacemaker-style revolver in that context, right, then the gun is broken, and that should be demonstrable by taking the gun apart. Like if he cocked the hammer and it just dropped it, Yeah, that should be demonstrable by disassembling the gun and looking at the lockwork inside.
Gotcha.
Right? Because it's broke. It's a physics thing, right? In the same way that just because...
It's not just going to drop the hammer from that mechanism without there being something internal actually broken and visible.
It's just like a car,
that makes sense to
right?
me.
They don't just blow up for no reason just because they're designed to hold thousands of explosions a minute.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So no, this whole I didn't pull the trigger, maybe you didn't. I'm not saying he did, but if he didn't, then the only way to make that revolver do that is going to involve it having been broken and the hammer having been thumbed back. Like, rounds don't just not go off on their own. They're designed to be thrown the fuck around in a war zone.
Yeah.
That's how not sensitive they are.
Yeah. That being said, though, special guest, do you still feel like it kind of falls down to the prop and armor kind of guy?
No.
Or you think it falls down to like the DP and the set?
I'd say it falls down to the producer who had a labor dispute with half of the people on his stage and was bringing in scabs who weren't really industry approved. And I'm not even here's the thing, I'm not even a big union guy, right?
But it's a staffing issue. He wasn't staffing the right people.
Yeah, he didn't pick the right staff when he picked somebody who was to replace his union staff, right? Everything I've heard sounds like there were just huge issues on set with security around those guns and everything else.
Yeah. Oh, Joshua, the media hopped on Kyle because Kyle's a pig-faced fucking idiot. Sorry. Oh, Kyle Rittenhouse defenders. I'm like, dude, I ain't got no time for that shit. Kyle Rittenhouse still a fucking dumbass. No matter what anybody says, I don't care what his fucking verdict was. He's a piece of shit. He's a piece of shit. I hope he's never a cop. He's the opposite of what I want as a cop. I'll be never, ever.
I am in general keeping my feelings quiet about this because I believe that libel suits are real.
I'll be very vocal about how much I personally do not like him. That is my personal opinion. I think Kyle Rittenhouse is a fucking idiot, and I tell him to his face. I tell it to a judge. Did I say I think he's guilty? Yeah, because I think he is. Am I saying he is? No, I think he is. And Jameson says that's cool, baby.
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah.
No, I'm specifically not giving anybody shit here. I'm merely saying that for my own personal safety, I'm keeping my mouth shut on that subject.
Yeah. There's a bunch of bullshit behind the. Let me turn a little bit of some background beats on, gang. But yeah. That Kyle.
Here's what I have to say about that whole situation, and it's not having to do with him in specific.
Yeah.
It's that you wouldn't see, I think, even as much issue with this in terms of media representation had they actually done their job in how the case was presented.
Yeah.
Like that to me has been like if there's anything that I have a feeling on about that, it's that okay, guys. Well,
the prosecution sucked the whole time.
Not just that. What should your job be? I guess it should be to hire some fucking lawyers who give opinions about what's going on in real time. And if you're smart, maybe hire some people that also disagree with the people that you've picked that are going to align with your network's narrative, because we all know that the different news networks have different narratives that they're following, right? Yeah. But at least, god damn it, guys, give us some illusion of objectivity when you present stuff, because otherwise it really does come across like you're just trying to whip people up. Not you, I'm talking about the media. The news media in the US in specific. And especially seeing that Facebook has been trying to whip us up, and all these companies are all owned by each other, I don't trust that sort of shit. Like, I'm not looking for them to whip us up into a race war, my man.
Oh well, that's how I feel about. Well, that's but
once again, I'm a use your words. Let's talk it out. Even if you hate me. If you're willing to talk, I'm willing to listen.
Well, this is why I specifically let my audience know that I'm not on Kyle Rittenhouse's side, and if you're a pudgy white standing on a pedestal of privilege, I'm not on your side in the riot.
I'm
not on your side.
I've come to the conclusion, for me personally,
like I'm not going to side with a kid who's going to burn a cross in my
that
lawn.
a lot of that perspective isn't currently helping.
Yeah,
and I'm not. Once again, everything that I'm saying is gonna. There's an implication that I'm trying to admonish people. I'm not. I'm just trying to figure out the fucking world for myself.
Oh yeah.
And I want to be clear about that.
Well,
and what I'm saying is that for me, in general, I'm pretty well staying away from this because it is, to my mind, a more complex subject than any of the media have given it anything other than their personal narratives on it or their corporate narratives on it. And that has spilled over to so many different people's viewpoint, and it's supposed to be capable of informing us, and it isn't. It's whipping us up. That I'm trying not to get whipped up because if so, I could easily be whipped up into the wrong direction.
Yeah.
You got me? And you know, I'm one of those people that's armed to the fucking teeth.
Yeah.
Right? Well, it's not about guns. That's not what I mean. I'm just saying, like anyone who knows me, or if that's watched this podcast has heard me say it, like I'm pretty well armed, and that means that if people if the authorities or whoever decided to come after me, they're probably going to come relatively heavy under the expectation that I'm stupid enough to utilize arms against them.
Exactly.
And yeah, I'm trying to avoid that.
Yeah. No, as a law-abiding citizen with no priors and no reason for anybody to raid me or have a problem with me, I have no problem saying that me as a free citizen thinks Kyle Rittenhouse and most pudgy whites that defend him are pudgy whites that I don't like and I'm not going to hang out with. Like you're just not my company.
Well, no,
right?
that's I mean, you know, I don't.
I've been prejudiced.
I've been trying to
avoid
prejudiced
against that crowd.
I've been
absolutely
trying to avoid that type of viewpoint.
Yeah,
I just being honest, I don't find it particularly helpful, man.
No,
but
not,
you asked.
Yeah. No, is it helpful or productive? No, but I am going to distance myself from Tiki Torch whites anytime.
No, and understand. Like, look, you came from Arkansas and I came from Mississippi. Yeah, I fucking get it. I fucking get it.
Like I'm
because
Jews from the South.
Look,
like we don't.
I'm going to tell you right now. Like talking about that, you can go and look on anything like the not Jimmy Kimmel, the Fallon interview with Seth Rogen right now, right? And all of the comments on YouTube are coded anti-Semitism. You know, and also Santa Inc. looks like garbage to me. I'm just saying. It doesn't look like it's going to be fun. It looks like it's going to be something that has half the sensibilities of 2008, but with a preachy message, and that doesn't seem fun to me, so I'm probably not going to watch it.
Oh, wait, what?
Seth Rogen and, what's her name? Sarah Silverman's new comedy.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But it's the target of a focused campaign from Poll right now.
Yeah. Where was it? Who gave a really interesting? Lux gave a really interesting.
And I guess so. I saw this morning an astounding amount of not just YouTube coded anti-Semitic hate.
Yeah.
But like you'd click to these channels and it'd be like, this is obviously a record label.
Oh, bro,
you got me?
Yeah, my stream that said Hanukkah Night 3 Turtles in Time. First person on Twitch to pop in because Twitch is toxic as fuck. Was, are you a stockbroker? Immediate anti-Semitism. Yeah. So yeah, I don't.
But you know, here's the thing, right? One, I recognize this is a focused propaganda campaign to make them look huge.
Yeah.
And two, it also demonstrates that they're very technically competent. Like, give the devil his due, man. Like, very technically competent.
Yeah.
Like, it was. I think right now, like you have to get a click-through extension to see it because they've disabled likes, but you can still see them with in the right browser.
Damn.
With the right extension, and that thing is ratioed so hard. It's like out of 500,000 views, 2,500 likes. That's it.
Damn.
2,500 likes.
Oh, that's what it was.
80,000 or 90,000 dislikes.
Lux's review of Cowboy Bebop. We watched the live action.
Oh, how was it?
In its entirety. Bad.
Well, that's what I heard, but was it fun?
Look, here's the thing. If you watch it as if you don't know anything about the source material, you'll have a good time.
Yeah, there we go.
If you like cassette futurism, here's why I put it on.
Oh no, I've been seeing the screen caps. My computer groups are losing their minds at the sheer amount of like, that's a first generation Mac, you know?
Yeah. So like if you're like a cassette futurism kind of guy, if you're into that aesthetic, here, come on in. Check this shit out.
Oh well, I just realized I've been staring at you, and that's got to make for great television.
Oh no, you're good. There's okay. So it is the cassette futurism aesthetic of Cowboy Bebop. The look is the same, right? Mm-hmm. Now the casting not so great. The acting falls all the time. Lux, out of all people, I wanted to hear her opinions first. I don't think I fucking spoke through the first half of the season. And just kind of listened to Lux like, what the fuck is happening? The whole time. And then she, at the end of it, she said, just plainly, they went too far with the Me Too shit.
She said they went too far. This is what I'm talking about, right? All these things are tied together. Here in Arizona, they had the group of socialists. It was the Socialist Students Association, basically. Yeah. Not basically, I just don't have the correct term, but look it up. It is the Socialist Student Association there, whatever their particular name is. Organized a We Don't Want Murderers on Our Campus against Rittenhouse. Rittenhouse was online, signed up for classes like a year ago.
Yeah.
He was not even a student. But by making it a PR thing and whipping people up, we're keeping everybody angry and tying it to like... Dude... My view, and this is for me, is that in general, I reserve, I do my best, and I often fail, but I do my best to reserve my words when I'm accusing people of that sort of stuff until I've got some evidence so I can say, fucking yeah. And having looked at that case and everything, I'm not finding evidence that I can say that. Even though, and here's where I want to be clear, I have my own heuristics, like anyone I think raised in the South in my situation or his situation. And it's not just, like in my case, it's not about being like a hidden Jew for a bit. I didn't even find out till I was like fucking 19 or 20, right? It's about the area I grew up in has possibly the highest black population you're going to find in the U.S. I've been checking. Like it's 60%. It has been for a while. I grew up thinking that New Jack City was a representation of every city because every city was an extension of the place I spent my first quarter century of my life. And the only places I really got to elsewise were like Birmingham or Memphis, which has a comparable set of demographics. At least visually seems to when you're walking around. And man, because of the lack of standard of evidence that I saw excised against black people I knew by white people I knew, right? It put me off of the whole concept of doing that, period, even if I feel like I'm trying to invert it for the sake of justice. I'm not going to say it's not appropriate. I'm not going to say that somebody shouldn't do it. I'm going to say I don't feel it's appropriate for me to do because if I have a moral issue or quandary with that, then I feel like I am being a hypocrite.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm like, well, I'm not about to pile onto this kid. The other thing is, and you know, man, I just feel like shit, is an 18-year-old person gonna be 19? Maybe by the time they're 30, they've had a whole shift in their perception, and they are attempting to use whatever skill they've garnered to do good. And I want a world where people are allowed to be forgiven and then demonstrate that that's meaningful.
Yeah, and open redemption arc can be possible.
And when you've got a person that you're flaying alive in public, you definitely are setting them up for that not to be the case. Like I said, this is my personal feelings about how I process it. If it comes across like I'm admonishing you, I'm not in your perspective. I don't know what you've had to deal with, and I don't like to tell people not to feel ways they need to keep themselves safe. You know, all I'm saying is that dude's not in your Harvard.
No, ASU.
No, like he's apparently he does not want to now.
Oh, he doesn't now?
Because of the protest. But I'll tell you, you go look at that protest, the majority of ASU students were counter-protesters against them. They were outnumbered 5-1.
Yeah, but dude, I'm telling you, the Pyru's selling smack down the road, not playing it. Tucson ain't the place for you, homie. It's not. It's not.
I don't think it would be the best place for him either.
Yeah, it's just not. It won't work.
I would say that the best thing for that guy to do, honestly, because of the situation he's in, and this is me.
Yeah.
Operating from everything I just said, right? The best thing for that guy to do is to go to a community college somewhere.
Yeah.
That's not a...
Because, just an interesting observation I made. Yeah. You know who was able to, you know what protests were able to make it all the way over here to the Latin side of Southside Tucson? The anti-Rittenhouse ones.
Yeah. Well, this is also the area that we're in.
You got motherfuckers in red posted up out back. You know what I'm saying? Like, he just wouldn't have a good time here.
Yeah, I don't think he'd do well in Tucson or Phoenix or any major metropolitan area. No. And that's sort of what I'm getting at is that honestly, for his own safety, and he's as much said that.
Yeah.
Well,
But he's got, I hold the same opinion on Rittenhouse that I did the day I reported on the verdict, right? Dude has... when he was found not guilty, he got a worse sentence than that guilty verdict. He's now famous and out in general pop all the fucking time. He now has to navigate not just being a celebrity, but trying to grow up in it and find a redemption arc.
He's got somebody to follow in terms of the same thing happened to. And this is one that, look, you can be mad at the MAGA hat kid, Nick Sandmann, because he supports Trump, or he did as a 16-year-old, and certainly still does now. Yeah. You can be mad at him for being a pro-lifer. These are not reasons that I'm willing to want to burn the world down. I am willing to try and do something about it. Like Roe v. Wade is about to get screwed somehow. I'm not of the opinion it's going to be gutted, but I am of the opinion that they're gonna do the equivalent of a magazine ban on it. Yep. You got me? And I think that's something that I would like everyone to keep this in mind, right? The push for forcing everyone to take the injections.
Oh yeah.
Right? Like you say, well, that's about body autonomy because I might get sick. You might.
Yeah.
You might, right? But you're saying you will definitely cause a certain amount of people to have negative reactions and have they will definitely have a worse quality of life when you can look at other countries where it doesn't seem like it's mattering, even with the new variant. And I'm just saying, this all ties to what I'm afraid of out of what's coming with the Supreme Court, which is you're going to have to accept something you don't like to get what you want, either side. Either side.
It sucks being in that, I'm in the actual 5% of someone like an autoimmune disease who's genuinely being discriminated against in this fucking COVID shit. You know what I'm saying? And it's not, there's no, I deal with so many fucking, again, the same Kyle Rittenhouse
dude,
pro people.
I have had five fucking, I've had one job interview and 3 callbacks now. And I'm pretty sure my non-vaccinated status is why I haven't gotten any.
That's exactly what it is. But here's the thing,
and the moment that I got out here, my skin started flipping out, which means that I'm having immune issues because I'm having a psoriatic, psoriasis.
I know a lot of people who throw around medical discrimination with no diagnosis.
Yeah.
They refuse to get the vaccine when they absolutely fucking could, where I'm on a list that I can't.
Right.
If I go to a place, I might get my name pulled and they say, no, get out of here. That, and then I can't go get a job, So
you're making a lot of people too who are worried about, especially with
So what drives me nuts are the QAnoners who show up and are like, I'm being discriminated against because something I won't choose to do because I'm totally perfectly fucking healthy. You don't know discrimination like I do.
This is what I'm saying with the whole to get what you want, you are gonna have to accept something you don't want.
Yeah.
If you want a situation where you aren't forced to for your health reasons out of other people's fears, and we can argue about whether or not those fears are legitimate, right? Yeah. But if you want in that situation, you're going to have to accept they don't have to take it too.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. That's that's my thing. Is like if you've refused a vaccine, I don't want to hear shit about my side of this. You know what I mean? Like we're not fighting the same battle,
right?
Like we're not fighting the same battle. We have the same label,
here's
but
the thing.
We're not the same
like,
thing.
I think there's an easy fix for this, which is body autonomy.
Yeah.
Like, if that, to my mind, if that baby can't survive outside the body, you can do whatever you want with it. If it can, we can talk about that then. I have different feelings. I'm also not a woman. I'm not a conservative, but I'll tell you right now.
That has been the debate lately. Is maybe,
and that's exactly what they're talking about, which is, well, how much time is enough time to choose? And my mindset is the entirety of the time. Like if we're looking for an arbitrary cutoff point, which is what all laws seem made out of.
Yeah.
It's when the fetus can survive outside the body. Like at that point, induce labor instead of fucking abortion. Fucking adopt that kid out.
I think means of conception has to have something to do with it.
I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with that either.
It has to.
I don't disagree with that either.
What does it say? Consenting conception.
Yeah.
If you can fill out a form as a woman that says this was not a consenting conception, I was impregnated against my will.
Well, and
you shouldn't be under legal.
And I want to say this: you should be able to say that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And not have to have filed a criminal case.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's super important too. That you're like, look, I don't want to talk about it. This is part of my medical privacy, and definitely this was not consenting.
That's HIPAA shit. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I will say it was not consent. Yeah, exactly. Like
But like I'm sure I've pissed off a lot of people right now, and I'm not trying to. Like I said, laws are made out of arbitrary lines, right? And you have to. You can negotiate, or we can have a war, and that's where we've gotten to. People are burning the country down in a way that I lived through the Rodney King riots, man.
Yeah.
As near as I can tell, statistically, we've gone longer than the '68 era.
Oh shit, yeah.
And if it keeps up, we're definitely going to get to that bombing era. And when I say we, I mean us as a culture. I'm afraid this will break out due to a bunch of radicals on both sides. We've seen people bomb abortion clinics.
It's the only way to protect a democracy is to make the extremists come out and van them up. Like, I know that it's not. I know there's other ways, but that's what they're doing.
No. I got you.
If I'm playing
they just don't seem to be stopping it.
Like, no, if they're not done, they're not done. It's a roundup.
Yeah.
If I'm sure the mobsters felt the same way in Prohibition.
Well, and now they're doing the same thing with putting in all the IRS agents. 87,000 IRS agents to come after people who have
filed W-9s now because of the Music Modernization Act. Is functionally what this is about, in my opinion. You have a whole new class of people like myself who are creatives who, during Trump and the Music Modernization Act, can actually make some fucking money and see our residuals show up.
Well, and they're trying to use private industry to be a censorship and enforcement arm of the government. And to my mind, that is wrong. That's why the method of OSHA vaccine mandate is wrong. Yeah. Either make it a mandate that's just a mandate that says, 'cause I said so, and that's legal.
Yeah.
Or not.
But that's why I've, on this show, made it real clear that it's, I get right-wingers and left-wingers mad at me all the time.
Yeah, no. Well,
and it's because I'm not going to be labeled the extremist of either side.
Well, that's how I am. I have some views that both sides view as extremist.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing. And I don't view myself as an extremist, partially because I'm not any sort of violent radical, nor do I ever endorse that. That's been I'm
a pacifist.
My biggest... I'm not a pacifist. I'm peaceful.
Yeah. I'm a pacifist. I mean, I would say we both are in our general outlook. We do not want the conflict. We'll walk away from it before we fight.
No, but I will say that's strategic in that's why I can comfortably say, well, I do believe in self-defense, which is another reason that legally the whole Rittenhouse case is sketchy.
Oh, yeah.
Well, to me.
Yeah. Oh,
to me. And then one of the reasons that I'm not comfortable talking about it because...
Yeah. Well, the case itself was ruled the way it was ruled. I'm talking about the kid as a celebrity.
Right. Well, yeah.
I don't fucking like him.
Yeah, no. Well, yeah, I'm not tuning into his show.
No, hell no. I'm not buying his shirts. I'm not going on other people's YouTube channels talking about fucking, oh, hell yeah, he's free.
Yeah.
I got... no, yeah. Their word is a hell of a proposition. Oh shit, they're talking Juicy. Oh, we're talking about the half French actor Juicy. Did you hear what they showed the jury? Special guest.
No, I haven't been paying. Like I knew there was a videos, but I haven't been keeping up.
So they showed a video of Juicy doing a dry run of the assault.
Okay, here's the thing. Like, and
which we cover a lot of court cases here.
No. There's no I guess there's never a happy position, right? But this one's a super. This is not as miserable as the shit I'm gonna be talking about on the show today. Oh, it's gonna be a short show because I can only do that type of shit for so long. And we're gonna, but I'll do another one based on the same subject's sequel next week. But with Jussie Smollett, man, it's like if he did it, well, it's good that we're calling out people who are faking hate crimes because there's enough of those. You don't have to fake them, and it's really gross that that's what a person would do. Yeah. If he didn't, holy God, fucking somebody set him up, or CPD set him. That's even more terrifying.
It could have been.
And hey, I've got no faith in Chicago police.
I kind of side with Dave Chappelle on this one.
Well, no, that's basically where I'm at.
That's my opinion. That's why I said it's Juicy Smollett, the French actor from France.
But oh man,
you know Juicy. Then he's not American. Don't worry about it. We're not claiming that. He did that whole whatever happened. It happened on metric.
Yeah. That was a metric news. It had 10 loops. Sorry. This is why I can't be on Facebook. They won't. I'm already banned again. Well, to be fair, I earned that one.
Were you on one?
I definitely transgressed.
I've tried lately to get a Facebook.
I was dealing with the Wappler.
Oh, that'll do it.
He started coming back with that same old shit, and I just called him out and told him to watch his teeth.
Good God. He came back at it again. Really? Some people, man, they got nothing better to do with their time.
That's the one that I know?
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't get on.
They don't get along. It's
I don't think I've talked to him in like 9 years.
Well, my feeling is you almost certainly haven't missed anything, and in fact, if that's the last time you heard him, I would understand why maybe your opinion would be better.
You ain't me that, Joe. Yeah.
But that's my personal opinion about the guy. I'm not gonna sit here and waste a bunch of time talking shit about him, but I will say I earned that ban by Facebook's rules.
Yeah. Him and I go back to fucking almost, I'm talking on the swing set days.
Oh yeah.
So there's a certain amount of bullshit I know he does, and I know that shit.
I called him out for being a rich boy, and he was not happy about all that.
And it's the fucking truth. Like, I mean, look, man, like you gotta at least accept and acknowledge what you've come from, and he does try to play a card. I've seen it where it's like, dude, you're not from that.
Well, no, dude. His Instagram handle is like Don Pablo. Like his whole identity is based on literally co-opting other people's culture.
For sure, and I mean, it's definitely not an Izod shirt that he's rocking right now. And I'm just saying, like, where I'm from, if he would have showed up when we were kids, back when he was on his high school shit, he would have got his ass whooped.
Right.
But that, I wouldn't have, but that's because I'm flipping blunts out of my backpack. You know what I'm saying? You got $10, boy? Que onda, way? Like, I got you. Like, what's up, fool?
Jameson says the idea they would manufacture evidence is not far-fetched at all. Hard agree, man.
I agree.
Weren't they the ones running that Homeland place or whatever that was like a black site functionally for interrogations? But it was the Chicago PD. And I think a lot of that mindset and such goes back to them being not unlike NYPD, who has their own intelligence division, and a lot of that's tied back to the era of like the Red Squad and shit.
Yep.
Because keep in mind, before 81, when Reagan said that the CIA couldn't work domestically anymore, the CIA would work with metropolitan police departments.
I'll have to see if I can find it again, but where the government document where they're talking about allocating national intelligence resources from like the Red Scare to urban crime.
Yeah.
Listed like as urban crime. Way before any kind of like urban being a word in the zeitgeist.
Well, yeah, but they meant urban crime in the same way that they mean urban music.
Exactly. Like yeah, like it read a certain way. So this guy you're talking about is Malibu's Most Wanted kind of guy. Stanioti's that's pretty solid. I mean, look, he's got bars. His friends got bars.
Here's what I want to say.
They're
right?
talented.
I will happily admit that I like music from people that I don't like or even despise. It's ridiculous to be like, and this is like, I'm really good at separating the art from the artist.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's perfectly adequate at what he does and is capable. He was a much better metal vocalist than any of his rhymes, and I've listened to a fair amount of his stuff.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I will say I love his, he's got a good voice on him, I think. I think whatever he applies his mind to musically will work. I don't like that it's attached to a certain kind of image and lifestyle right now. I feel like in his eyes I see a lost person.
And once again, I'm being completely honest. I haven't been as much into his particular sound, but because it doesn't feel like he's trying to lead the wave of anything. He's definitely doing stuff that sounds like what he's heard other people do. Like that's how it feels to me, man.
I'm okay with that, but I'm making a homage bunch of beats right now, so I kind of get that. Like there's a certain but yeah,
it's not a big part of your identity. Like the thing about being a rapper or MC of any type, is that that's about your personal expression.
Yeah, and it should come from the heart. It's poetry.
It should have something to do with you, not just you emulating what you've seen. And that's how he comes across to me.
Yeah.
Like if we're being honest, but man, there's a reason that I played in punk bands, but am not covered in tattoos.
Yeah, I know he wasn't out there in that area's trenches like my family was, so there's a certain amount of clout. I'm like, what's he fucking talking about?
Yeah,
when did you start doing that shit? Like at 25?
That's the wild thing to me. Is it's like all of this that you're talking about, but when?
Yeah.
Like I get it's a character, but that's like you're really playing the part of Pat Boone here.
Yeah. But I also know a bunch of kids that like went hella hippie in their college years and shit, and then kind of turned into so I've seen people kind of evolve into something that it's like, well, I've already had that experience really young, and I have to realize I come from crazy fucking stock. You know what I mean?
Okay, well, I'm gonna say this: if you've already had that experience when you were young, coming from the wild ass family you come from, why should any person be seeking out and engaging and trying to chase that experience at age 26?
And that's how I feel about it.
Like it's like, oh my man.
That's how I feel about it. Especially when like motherfuckers were hitting like their mid to late 20s and we're still like heavy festival people, like wook to the wookness. I'm like, dude, that's what I was doing when I was 16.
Yeah, it's
half my life
like
ago.
Exactly what do you think that next DMT trip is going to teach you that you haven't already figured out by now?
Yeah, there's really only so far you can go in that road.
Yeah.
There's only so many ways you can slide up a hallucination.
And so if you're just getting blasted as often as possible for no real positive effect for you mentally, all you're really doing is keeping yourself out of a lot of potential lines of growth by doing the same shit again. This is to me though what I call the cult of cool.
Yeah, it builds into neuroses. You see, like sometimes sad characters show up from that kind of thing too. Like John Lovitz still doing the same tight 30-minute act for 20 years. John Lovitz in the same costume doing the same act. Dude, hairline going back every decade.
John Lovitz is just the Tiny Tim of being David Spade. He has one little act and his club. Yeah. And his goal was to have that club.
Yeah.
He's got his act, he's got the critic, and he's got that club.
Yeah. That's oof. It's he's got the critic and then that club.
Yeah, that's it.
I don't think he has the Lovitz anymore. He's been touring that show for forever though. It's the same 30-minute act.
So what? I think that this is a Roy Raiden situation.
Oh really? Think Lovitz might be an in-man? Or a doppelganger and might actually have a government role?
I would say if that's the case,
I like that. John Lovitz as a
who's he touring with? When are they moving around?
We should pitch that movie.
I watched the thing the other day. We have more people and more modern spies, like actual human intelligence on the ground spies, than ever, right?
Yeah.
Most of them operating in the U.S.
Okay.
And a big part of them not having their cover blown is fake signals intelligence, giving them fake digital profiles.
Yeah.
So there's a whole fucking like 50,000 people is what it was estimated at, who are most of them ex-vets, or they're vets, you know, ex-military. And basically they just spend all day going around moving mail from one P.O. box to another. Like their job is they're like a sort of secret post office. And that's not all they do, but they're always doing that.
Okay.
Like their job is to provide if you go to do a background search online.
Oh, what shirt does special guest have on? Sorry to interrupt you. Lex Luthor for president.
Yeah.
He's also got a Harkonnen shirt.
Yeah, it says make Metropolis great again.
We preheated the oven today.
Well, you know, hey, like I said, I wasn't trying to come in being a bummer, but you asked.
Not at all.
That's how I feel. And look, man.
I'm having a
guys have some
show.
Wild ass opinions, like for real. Like say how you feel. I do believe that people should say how they feel, even if I don't agree with if I don't agree with how you're informing yourself based on what I've seen. That's my business. But if you ask me, like, just all I'm saying is don't get your feelings hurt. If I'm like, I'm not really on that train, y'all.
Yeah.
Like, I want to see how it plays out because guys, I'm that guy that, like, when you get to know me in real life, it's 3 or 4 times of me being real quiet watching.
Yeah.
Before I really open up. Like, I'm just that way. I'm a wait and see on the front to see how things play out. And people can say, oh, that's from a place of privilege. No, that's from a cultivated place of learned safety.
Yeah. That's... Everybody has their own experiences and entitled to their own learning and growth from their own experience.
And I'm like I said, I'm really, really big on forgiveness because I've known people who were honestly... Like, they were good people except for one really bad thing about one real problematic thing about them. And they grew out of it over time. They came to recognize that was an issue. Yeah. And honestly, yes, I would want that person to be capable of being a nurse. Because I'm betting they're not going to be killing anybody just because they disagree with them. If it's just one thing. And most of the time... my father was an ER nurse for like 30 years and an ambulance driver, and then he became a travel nurse. You got me? Yeah. I've known lots of people who are in the lower tier of the medical profession that just associating with my family. Dude, there are people who I heard from Columbus Hospital who said some reprehensible things about black people and saved their lives every night.
Yeah.
You know, yeah. And I think it's important to remember people are complex and people can change for the better. And if we don't create a world where they have any incentive to believe that that's a possibility, they will harden those worst beliefs. And I'm terrified of that because I think that's exactly the world they've been trying to create, at least here in the U.S. especially.
Yeah.
We're in the middle of... Now, this is where I go off on my thing, right? Like, I believe we're in the middle of an effective World War III or World War IV. It's what they call a hybrid war. It's not even fought generally using bullets. It's fought using people.
Yeah.
Just radicalizing people against each other. And fought using things like huge migrant caravans. You see it right now happening between Poland and Belarus. I've been following that real heavily. But that's a minor version of what we've been seeing worldwide. And a strategy I think has been being used on the U.S. by outside forces who would love to see us dissolved.
Yeah.
You know, guys, and while you may agree with some of those outside forces on some things, you do not want to see us dissolved.
No.
Like you would prefer to see you don't defund us, reform us, please.
You don't want the stay behind armies to be a thing that happened. You don't
Dude,
want Mad Max.
It will be so bad because those groups, I believe, are still absolutely out there, still operating and larger than they ever have been, just by virtue of there being more of a population.
Yeah. Longtime Murkies have seen me do this on this show. That's why I don't manifest doomsday in any way. I'm not a doomsayer. If I say doom is coming, I'm fucking have me locked up. I'm not.
I'm not saying it's coming. I'm saying though there are people who'd like to see it happen and be aware.
Yeah.
And understand that
to combat that bullshit, that's why I try to keep the like, no, we're gonna be something.
If you're a human being, it doesn't matter how smart you are, especially if you're pretty intelligent, you can be manipulated.
Yeah.
Like, the average person that joins a cult isn't dumb.
You think they can't get
It's quite the opposite. They tend to go for people with, like, measured IQs, whether you feel that's meaningful or not.
Oh, dude.
In the, like, 110 to 125 scale. They're all about it.
Since television went color, I bet you they got ways that you could watch a Coke commercial and fucking have your pants down and fucking in a Walmart in 2 minutes they could fucking have you programmed. Like, absolutely.
Maybe not you, but I also think maybe some people.
Well, again, like, that's what I mean to, like, anybody out there who feels like they're an outlier, like that's a meditation I do to myself sometimes, where I'm like, no, there's ways of not, it's outside of neurolinguistics.
People,
you don't have to use linguistics. They can fucking hit you with a whole lot of other things to get you to do exactly what they want.
People who engage in magical thinking without being capable of defaulting to rational thinking, even if they suspect they may be wrong.
Yeah.
And it's not about doubting yourself.
Yeah.
But in specific, a lot of those people, not a majority, but a significant amount of them are schizophrenic.
Yeah.
And when I say that, I do mean by the current DSM. And those people in particular are heavily susceptible to that type of thing.
Yeah.
Right? Like your person who's made it to the point of psychosis, which is different than, like, far different than schizophrenia or even being schizotypal or anything like that. A person who's made it to psychosis, you can't really use those techniques on.
Yeah.
But a person who isn't psychotic, you can, if you pick your target, know what to say to manipulate them into believing things.
Man, I know that every ad agency in particular basically has, like, that blade wall where they hit the button and it opens up and it's an arsenal of shit, but it's every different psychological profile. A means to get a hook in each one of us.
No, and that's the sort of thing. Like, what is effective in terms of advertising is effective in terms of manipulating people. And we do have a huge mental health crisis in the U.S. And I don't throw around the word schizophrenic lightly. Like, not at all.
Yeah.
It's very. I really want to make that clear. Nor am I trying to be like, schizos are going to be turned into Manchurian candidates. Everybody be afraid. That's not what I'm saying.
It's a lot easier to manipulate that person from a certain angle.
I think almost all people can be manipulated, and I suspect that certain groups have spent an astounding amount of time learning to manipulate that group in specific.
Yeah.
To use them as tools, whether it's as tools who buy things or as any other type of tool you can use a human as.
Yeah.
And I think it goes back to national security, and like I think this is one reason that you see so many people involved in these conspiracies involving murder back in the day were involved in radar operation, because that was some of our most secret shit. I was reading about that site, the one that replaced it, that they shut down in '79, could track an object the size of a basketball at 2,000 miles. And they said with a software update, they could get it down to like 3 centimeters, which they didn't update the software and close the base, something I don't believe.
You could shoot a quarter down someone's butt.
Well,
crack
it's all based on this technology that was very secret that we almost certainly got from the Nazis, which is phased array radar, which is what the HARP installation was. If anybody remembers HARP.
Yeah.
Well,
there's so much myth behind HARP.
Well, and I suspect that they put a lot of money into things that may not have worked out.
Yeah.
But that they were deadly serious about, even if that involved giving people electrochemical hypnotic lobotomies or induced schizophrenia in order to hide it.
Yeah.
And that when they had people they were already going to do this to, that sometimes the CIA or whoever was like, and these will also be some of our test subjects. This is and that they got shuffled into these stay behind army plans.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's what happened. That they said, well, these guys already signed up to be willing to give their lives, so they sort of are.
Yeah.
Somebody walked by the door.
We've had a dude. You want to know the most? I have a funny story from this morning. Like I went to we had kind of a long starting crawl this morning on the stream, and it's because I got hit by the most successful of Merc Radio channel trolls, and by that I mean the building's maintenance man.
Oh,
the building's maintenance man has been waiting. It feels like for me to hit go live to start fucking leaf blowing right outside my window. And I'm like,
he's subscribed.
I'm like, homeboy, are you subscribed? Are you fucking? Do you want to come be on the show? Just come be on the show.
I want to say, Christy says, agree to disagree. I won't lose friends over personal opinions. That's how I feel, man.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not trying to say I'm right, and I have no meaningful control over your lives.
Yeah.
Like, I'm telling you, I'm honestly telling you how I feel, and knowing that some people are going to judge me, and like I said, I'm a human being trying to feel this shit out.
Yeah. Special Guest and I are best friends. He's my best friend in the world, and I mean, there's plenty of things we would disagree on if put in front of us in black and white.
Well, like for me, this is really hard. I am one of those people that have what pop science is currently calling rejection-sensitive dysphoria, to throw a name on it.
Yeah.
Like I worry about that. I do because I've had a lot of rejection trauma when I was younger.
Yeah.
And so and I'll get paranoid. You don't get into the shit that I'm into without ending up paranoid, guys.
Yeah.
Like that's a thing I have to deal with, and I try to remember I'm just not important.
Yeah.
No reason to be paranoid if you're not important.
Yeah.
But that can cause me to be afraid sometimes. Like, you came in, you asked me about a really controversial opinion, and I'm like, well, shit, I'm about to make some people really mad because I'm not going to lie, but I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, well, I genuinely wanted your opinion on, like, what was going on with this gun because, look, and you guys will notice this about me. Anytime there's something that gets, like, into the technical things about a fucking firearm, I'm getting a hold of Special Guest. I'm going to be like, hey, tell me some black and white on this.
I want to tell you something right now.
You speak like a machinist.
I want to talk about this particular case, which I would love to be unbiased about, but once again, I can like the art without liking the artist. Yeah. I love Alec Baldwin, man.
He's fucking hilarious.
I love Alec Baldwin. Yeah. I disagree with his politics in many senses because he comes across as an elitist control freak.
Yeah.
And I think, without trying to just drag the man, that voicemail to his daughter is an example of that.
Yeah.
That's not the type of person I would like involved in making policy or guiding in any way as a thought leader policy about what will be the rules that govern us. But all of this aside, me being a gun guy, him saying he thinks that no more firearms should be used on set without a cop there. Other people, I think The Rock saying no more firearms, period, just fake guns. And I'm like, guys, you guys are pushing positions because you wanted to run for office. This is how it feels.
Yeah.
Like that's how it feels. I have no evidence of that, but it's sure how it damn feels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I want to make something real clear on Merc Radio too, just moving on in the future, because when things first popped off, I feel like people got a certain impression, but like Special Guest and I, when we disagree and we talk about it, we're talking about it. You hit up my chat, you blow up my chat, I'm gonna treat you like you're blowing up a chat and bounce you.
Yeah.
Just so you know. Like, if you got something to say, come fucking say it. I don't have time for, if you do genuinely disagree and you feel wholeheartedly enough to have an opinion that you disagree, get in the Discord and come talk. That's why I have this available.
Yeah, because I'm not...
There's also a lot.
I was raised by hippies. I am at heart like the type of person that they used to refer to as peace, love, and heavy artillery.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm totally willing to accept and have studied as best I can the history of every form of oppression in the United States because I saw it firsthand when I was a kid and I was terrified of it.
Yeah.
And when I was a kid was when all of this fucking Manchurian Candidate shit really started hitting the zeitgeist super hard because the Zapruder film had only been publicly available since basically the year I was born.
Yeah.
So
you grew up in...
I grew up in the most conspiratorial mindset outside of, say, the early 70s.
Yeah.
And in a military town that was filled with racists who were worried about an impending race war.
Yeah. Another thing people might notice about me sometimes is my history on my knowledge in U.S. history in particular, right, or the history of our government, or very particular eras, right. And that's because there's always somebody I really care about that I didn't grow up in that generation that spurred me to research that generation. Like my grandfather's generation.
Yeah.
You know, your generation has been the most recent. Like Gen Xers have been fascinating to me because never before. Like,
well, I'm right on the tail end of Gen X. Like I'm just a few years from being a millennial. Like by how they define it, I throw the cutoff at 80.
Yeah.
That seems to be to the way that I understand how generations and cohorts work. It's not by decades. It's about 15 years.
Yeah. Well, and you know, it just. The things that your generation lived through, there's unlike any other generation, in my opinion, what Gen X lived through in particular, and that's because it starts at Cold War fucking craziness. You know what I mean? Like your schooling was different than what we have now. The way that HR handles Gen Xers is different.
Yeah, well,
which is right there says like, you know, it says it in a lot of corporate structures now that was the Reagan administration was a failed administration.
Lets you know right there that if HR at a big corporation treats different generations differently, they've already got you pegged.
Oh, for sure.
They've got you pegged based on how they expect you to act, which is probably right more often than not. Though not indicative of something innate, but more indicative in them being able to predict how you've been traumatized, is the way that I seem to understand it.
This is why federal profilers fascinate me. People who work that job, people who are able to deduce a lot about you off of just like, you know, hey, where are you from? What year were you born?
Here's my feeling on profilers. One, there are people that can do that very well.
Yeah.
Darren Brown would be the ultimate profiler.
Yeah,
okay?
Really good.
So understanding there are people that can do that, but because of all of the pseudoscience that law enforcement has utilized, never ever acting like that should be a cue point or indicator of guilt or evidence, right? Yeah. It's like, well, you fit the profile.
Yeah. Our most thorough investigations and busts in America have always come from a team.
Well, it's important, I think, to understand the reason that we put faith in this is because the story of Sherlock Holmes was tied to the idea of science as savior and has captivated us since then. Partially because using statistics and the scientific method is an excellent way to deduce how things happened. Doesn't mean it's the truth. If it was the truth, people would never have been exonerated.
Yeah, there's times where I feel like scientific method too is this is old scientists trying to explain the path of the flaming sword. Like this is like the scientific method. The more you break it down, and the more into the Talmud and the Torah and the Zohar I've gotten, the more I realize that's an ancient structure.
Yeah.
It's the path of the flaming sword.
Our people have been using it for a long time. The difference is, right, is the same as with alchemy or anything else like that. Yeah. Is that you don't do exactly what I do when I'm researching a conspiracy, which is know how it works and then prove how it works. Right?
Oh, you don't want to confirm a bias or something.
Yeah. Now, the reason that I'm doing what I'm doing is because there's intentional obfuscation, and the easiest way to solve a maze is to run it backward. But I also am very clear when I say, well, these are stories, and all my sources aren't exactly the best, but I try and source as best I can. And sometimes, like, there are things that are just plain undeniable.
Yeah.
Right? And seems to me to indicate something further. Like what we're going to talk about on the map today is undeniable. It relies... Guys, it's like Epstein, but worse.
Oh.
That's where we are today, and it's a two-parter. Because I couldn't do all of it in one, because I couldn't make it through all the source material.
Good Lord.
Like I've got I had everything set up to do both the Dickens and the Castle dossier today, and we're just going to do the Dickens dossier because it's too miserable, and I got grossed out and had a panic attack at one point. Also, I found some stuff that was tied to my own youth trauma at the same week, and so that made it even harder.
Yeah. I've been trying to wholeheartedly get back into just grinding music again. It's the reason for this season. I see other people getting back to grinding. A shutdown might happen again, and I can't let this much time go by without releasing a record. That's where I've been fucking lacking on doing any background research for the damn show. I've just been being my news junkie self with everybody.
I think that's what you're best at. Like,
yeah, just be a news junkie and then an artist when I'm off.
Well, my notes are not particularly organized, so I'll be reading through a nightmare list. It's just a bunch of things like where I'll grab transcript from a video and throw it over in there because it's got some of the information.
Yeah.
That's super handy. Anything on YouTube that's got closed captions, like even the auto closed captions, you can go down to the little ellipses, the 3 dots, and click that and get transcript. And where the chat would be, it'll pop up a transcript that moves in real time. And you can read ahead in the narration and click on certain spots if you know where you're looking for.
Damn.
So yeah, sometimes like a video will get me and I'll just rip the entire transcript of it so that I can edit out key points so I can talk about them if they're related, because, I might have 4 or 5 videos that are related.
Yeah.
Have the information. I've got to rip that out. Then I got to go and try and confirm it to see is this just disinformation that somebody posted for fucking bullshit. Because I'm not trying to lead y'all down. Like if y'all find something that I claim that you can be like, nah, this isn't the case, or there's a counter narrative, please. How do I feel about the flat Earth conspiracy? I think that they've lied to us about space, but I don't know what that means. Like, in general, I err on the globular Earth. In specific, as a thought exercise, I often try to think like a flat earther to try and explain some of the weird things, like associated especially with the history of secret flight.
Yeah. Mathematically, sometimes it's easier to explain things in a linear fashion.
Oh no, I absolutely get that. No, what I'm thinking about is there a way to pull that trick? You got me? Like, is it a trick? Is the Earth flat and it's real and they're trying to convince us?
Is there a way to pull it off?
How would I go up as a stage magician with the world as my stage? How would I go about pulling it off?
You're over here thinking about it like Mysterio.
Yeah,
You're like, bitch, how'd they do that?
So if like coming from that perspective,
but how could you do that? That's
coming from that perspective, man. Like, I could give you a bunch of different ways that like you can show me something. I could be like, well, here's how I'd fake it.
Yeah.
You got me? And I am a believer that it's...
Let me hug your pastries,
Oh, no, you're
way.
fine.
Be sure to...
I think it's very, very likely that we had a fake moon landing ready to go just in case for national security purposes.
Yeah.
I think it's really weird that the Russians didn't replicate a lot of our space travel stuff.
Isn't it fucking
and none of that is an indicator the Earth is flat, but there's a lot of indicators that what's going on in space isn't exactly what we've been told.
It's something you'd use to trick people into thinking it would be flat.
Yeah, well, and see, that's part of it. Like, when 9/11 happened, right, it wasn't just that there was a conspiracy theory. There's like 500 of them.
Or you know? It's round. Whatever, yeah.
So, like, if something happened, the smartest thing to do would be like, well, since people seem to think something's happened, and maybe they're on to us, we need to put as many counter theories out as we can. Now, that's assuming things didn't go down as the official narrative says. Which, I'll tell you right now, I don't think things went down as the official narrative said on 9/11 either. But, that doesn't mean I have any clue what happened. And I've heard some crazy shit. Does anyone else here think that what's happening to Chris Cuomo is a big stupid joke? Jameson, I haven't followed it enough to know. I know that
What's happening to Cuomo? I don't even really know the outline of it. I've heard people bring up Cuomo quite a bit lately.
Yeah, I haven't really followed it. Apparently, him and his brother are in some shit for conspiring somehow, but I don't even know what that means.
What?
Yeah.
Conspiring to do what? Get fat ass nipple piercings?
What
is it? What did they pull off?
As I understood, they were the governor was using the reporter as his own PR and PR hitman.
Oh.
Yeah, but that's like I said. I don't know enough about this to really know what's to. Yeah, I got no clue.
They got some.
I've seen a couple headlines and been like, "Oh, they coming for the Cuomos now." Well, it's New York politics.
Yeah, and New York, they'll still bust out some payola era crime shit.
Yeah,
like he was running his own press bureau off the books. Like, okay, And doing what? Being an unsuccessful fucking politician?
Suspended from CNN, likely fired because he did oppositional research into his brother's accusers with his sources he gathered as a journalist. That's a short summary.
Oh, Jameson. Okay, so suspended. Dude, when you... Yeah, I don't know what his contract with CNN says he can and can't do, though. When you sign away your shit to be a personality like that, like Cuomo did...
That's my feelings on this are I don't know if he broke any laws, and I would say that I can't even comment on the ethics of the situation per se because I don't know that. What I could say though is that in the public eye, once that comes out, his credibility was sort of shot with a lot of people.
Okay.
You know, it's just like when Brian Wilson was lying, man.
Yeah.
Like when and your credibility is your livelihood when you're a journalist or even a news commentator.
When your credibility's shot on either side, left or right, yeah, it seems like you got nowhere to fucking go.
Jameson, man, it feels that way. It really and this is a big part of what I'm saying, right?
Yeah,
is
that pathetically weak, like weak.
Brittle.
Brittle.
Well, yeah,
brittle.
Like, I don't even know how to get into it, man. I will put my foot in my mouth too wrong trying to explore it.
I fall back on Dave Chappelle terminology because that's the best way I can express my opinion. The man managed to put it out there in the world before me and in a very eloquent, beautiful way, and that's that he feels like America right now has a brittle spirit.
No, I agree. And, that's part of the issue is that people have used what they call like specious complex correlation to go from you disagree with me on something important. Yeah. I'm not acting like, and I'm not minimizing by saying it's important. Like we wouldn't be this upset if all of us upset if these things weren't important.
Yeah.
But you disagree with me, and ergo you want me or someone I love dead.
Yeah.
And that is in a context where that's the assumption. There's no meaningful discourse.
That's again a big part of why I prioritize voice chat. Come talk about it.
And I will also say everything I just said, my personal aside from that observation is, man, this is one of the reasons I'm armed. Like, if I'm worried somebody means ill to me, like, I'm just going to be prepared for that eventuality, not try and shut down whole classes of people who disagree with me.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to come talk. Like, I'll talk to the devil, dude. That's my thing too. Is like I disagree with a lot of people in the world, but would absolutely break bread with that fool. And a lot of that has disappeared. And how a lot of people go around and spend an awful lot of time on something that they wouldn't actually commit to fucking audio.
Yeah,
and it's like, well, then you don't actually care about it that much. If it's something that you just type about,
well, like with me too. Like part of it is like I gotta figure out my feelings.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but something I've noticed again, like just in the brittleness of what's happening with the kind of all of that stuff on both sides, Jameson. And again, Jameson, on this channel, you've seen me take it from both sides, the left and the right.
Oh yeah, no, the right has certain things that they are astoundingly brittle about.
Mm-hmm. I've been called a red-pilled channel. I've been called a super lefty woke channel. I've been called a fucking Zionist shill. I've been called, you know what I mean? Like I've gotten it on this channel from all sides, and again, it's because if you come in zealous and I give you the opportunity to come talk about it, and all you want to do is type about it, I'll take the type away. I'll take that opportunity away from you. If you don't care enough to come talk about it, then you don't actually fucking care about it.
No, I got you. Because it's so easy to snipe like that.
Yeah.
Jameson says, getting people fired because you don't like them or agree with them, really that they dare to question your movement, e.g. Me Too, isn't something serious intellectuals partake in. And, I want to say right now that I do agree with that. And I think the thing is that you're conflating serious intellectuals with intellectually capable people whose identity has them as self-styled revolutionaries.
Yeah.
Like, and that's why they act the way, because they're getting a big moral high off of it.
Yeah.
And to me, what I see is the blue hair, like, and I'm going to use those words because it's true. The blue-haired church ladies from the 80s when I was a kid who were trying to get rock and roll shut down.
Well, let's be really
clear. Why are you using those same tactics? You delegitimize yourself.
CNN wasn't built by serious intellectuals, and CNN's contracts are not drafted by serious intellectuals.
Yeah.
That's something to keep in mind, Jameson. I don't know what Chris Cuomo violated for CNN. I know that some journalists, you're not allowed to report on story. Like, you can't just go collect and report and publish anything.
Yeah, no, you have to have it approved.
Without their approval. So I don't know how much of in CNN's pocket he was. I don't know what he signed away with his contract, you know?
Yeah, Jameson says the extreme left is just as dangerous as Trumpism, but nobody's willing to admit it.
We talk about it here all the time.
Yeah, we do, but like socially, that is how it feels. Like, that's one of the reasons.
Versus communists. Is how it feels to me, and
I don't like authoritarian totalitarians.
Yeah, exactly. But we came from a state, Jameson, where you got to understand, like, the college left wingers went full hammer and sickle communist.
Yeah, and meanwhile, we're like, the area we were in is an hour and a half, 3 hours, something like that, from Harrison, a town basically still controlled by the KKK.
It is controlled by the KKK. There's still signs up. All the lawyers work for the Klan. There's no... it's all white people.
So it's it's one of the most divided places I've been.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it seemed just as divided as the place I was from, just more congealed in different spots.
Yeah. But both sides are extremism, period, like we were saying earlier. Like, that's why I'm a pacifist. I'm not going to go out and riot. There's talking is what normally is about as far as I go.
Hey, Christy, I just want to be clear, like, anything we were saying was not specifically directed at you as to saying you have to get into the Discord. Like, we know. We totally get you.
Yeah, we get
want to
you,
be clear.
Yeah,
like, we know you're a reasonable person, and that you feel free to get on.
That's that's it. People I genuinely enjoy their company, like Justin Wingate, who it's like, dude, you spend an awful lot. Hello, Christy.
Hello.
But yeah,
hi. How are you guys today?
I'm doing pretty wonderful. I did wake up at 3:30 this morning.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what time I went to bed.
Damn, you woke up early as shit.
I crashed out at like 9.
Oh.
After getting everything ready for the show, I just was done. Just done.
I stayed up a little late and probably tortured Lux watching season 2 of Wu-Tang: An American Saga.
Well, here's what happened.
And it's a really good show.
I put on Joseph Farrell because I was like, man, I need some crazy.
I
need some real crazy so I can go to sleep.
Yeah.
And I wake up just to hear him talk, just in time to hear him talking about this big pyramid structure somewhere outside of Minot, North Dakota.
Yeah.
And then there was like, what was that?
Yeah.
And no going back to sleep at that point. At that point, I started being like, Pyramid, North Dakota. Immediately found that crazy shit.
You sent that to me, and my brain immediately cracked in half.
Oh, dude.
I was like, that explains so much about Minot, North Dakota.
Well, one of those
even seeing
one of those bases
briefly,
now,
I'm like,
right? Yeah. Not that one that's got the big pyramid, but the one that's got the squat looking sort of half pyramid thing, the one that replaced it. I believe, I could be wrong, but I think that base has been taken over by the Space Force.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm wondering how much of this stuff has gotten moved over into Space Force now, because I figure they shuffle it every time they sort of reorganize the military.
Oh shit. Yeah. Probably a bunch of shit.
Yeah, because they're not going to move what bases they're on.
No. I swear both extremes would toss out our Constitution.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly. That's why I don't like it. That's why I also feel like... Oh, you feel that way too, Christy? Yeah.
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 No, well, and that's a big thing. Like, call me inculcated by Americanism, but I'm a big one on those first 10.
Yeah.
Real big. Let's just take that all the way to the 14th. But
yeah, absolutely. And I think that again, we have people who their MO is this is just ever since I've started doing the tattered map with you, I am convinced they're pulling extremes to round them up to keep a democracy or the illusion of one.
I feel like it's the illusion of democracy because we're in the midst of a corporate oligarchy.
Yeah.
Really a technocracy at this point, a technocratic oligarchy, and they need to keep that illusion of democracy out there. by saying, hey, if you don't do what we say, you will fall into one of these totalitarian extremist camps.
Yeah. I was playing Hearts of Iron, just the vanilla, right? No mods or anything. And I stoked the extremists in my country through propaganda on both sides for Nazis and communists. Mm-hmm. And during the next presidential election, it was like a communist versus a Nazi.
Well, it's important to realize you've got two power structures we have to worry most about right now in geopolitics, right? Russia and China.
Yeah.
China is outright communist. Russia is an authoritarian ruled country that once Putin dies will become a modern Nazi state. And when I say that, I don't mean like Hitlerist Nazism. I mean like Strasserism or Yaquism.
I say Yaqui, yeah.
Well, Yaquism's a lot like Strasserism.
Yeah, same shit.
Same shit.
Yeah.
Same shit.
But when you say
there's a reason they call it the Red-Brown Alliance.
Yeah.
Same shit. Yeah. But the reason why is because their biggest political group amongst the younger people now is the Nazbol movement, which all their artists were heavily involved with, and that's National Bolshevism. And remember, the communists killed the Bolsheviks pretty early in. Well, nationalist Bolshevism isn't internationalist communism. It's nationalist socialism.
Yeah.
Or national socialism. Like, these words do have meanings. Like your favorite form of socialism isn't the only ones out there, and I urge you to look up the Strasser brothers if you want to see why they're called the Nationalist Socialist Party. National Socialist Workers' Party.
It's still really sad to me that the work of Stanislav Suklowski is used in Poland still for like the new Nationalist Socialist movement. It's used by and he wasn't a Nazi. Now, was he blending with National Socialist sentiments for like 4 years? Yeah. He was, and that's where that art came from.
Well, and I think that model in specific is the one that they've used on Russia.
Yeah, where you can kind of
and I think it has
trick
to do
them into
look. They had their own Operation Paperclip.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
right.
We don't know what they got.
And they got a whole bunch of psychologists as well.
That's true.
Right, and so they I'm sure decided to work within that system to see how they could co-opt it to eventually move back to wherever, because being totalitarian authoritarianism predicated on socialism, you can eventually move back to that National Socialism.
Yeah.
So in the coming years, when Putin passes away, get ready for that. And like, from over here, I'm hoping China fights Russia, but really, I hope we find some way to keep this from all happening.
Yeah, I think I think that's part of why they're rounding up extremists. I think that the parties that are working against us are also stoking the flames of extremism, and we're not just being anticipatory, we've invited it to a degree.
Well, we've stopped being a democracy in any real sense, to my mind, and are now a nominally democratic mercantile republic.
Well,
we were never a democracy. We were always modified republic. And honestly, I prefer that. I don't want to be a straight democracy because that means people get to vote on science.
Mm-hmm. And you guys,
like, I'm fine with representative democracy within a general state of a republic.
Yeah,
I think it's the best plan for human beings to live under and have a modicum of safety and real freedom.
It's a good experiment.
That brings up something that I've been meaning to ask y'all. What's y'all's opinion on meritocracy?
Within a technical framework, I'm fine with it. Within a social framework, what's social merit?
And see, with a meritocracy, you see an emphasis on there's little things that happen, like a wage per hour becomes a very important thing, and people are calculated by how much you can make an hour, how much you're worth an hour.
Yeah, like I'm terrified of that.
Well, yeah, because here's the thing, I'm an artist, and I can work quick, depending on what it is.
Well, okay, like, that's a prime example. I read the other day,
and I'm not going to get paid
this
less
could be wrong, but I think it would be a good example, right? That because of the way the art market, emphasis on market, works right now. I don't know if this is true. It seemed to be when I did a light Google search, but apparently one of Hunter Biden's paintings the other day sold for like 100 grand, which put it at 5,000 over a signed Picasso.
Damn.
So, what's merit there, right?
Yeah.
Like within it, like, are you a nuclear scientist? Yeah, I'm all about a meritocracy. Yeah. Are you a psychologist? Yes, but I'm more worried about you than the nuclear scientist, honestly.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Because of the social aspect.
Yeah.
Given everything you've studied, that makes sense.
Yeah. Are you an artist, right? Well, man, like I believe that art is sort of its own meritocracy based on what it is.
Yeah.
When it's not wholly perverted by a collector mindset.
Yeah.
Something that's really only existed over the course of the last 120 years for the general population.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, so now art has turned into a modern version of like the Dutch tulip mania, which was the first observed economic bubble.
Yeah.
And art is so removed from any meaning of what art is. That to my mindset is what happens when you start trying to apply the concept of a meritocracy where it doesn't, because you start trying to quantify merit in ways you don't have the tools to. So you just use what you've got for quantifying things.
Well, and you know, there's just it in a meritocracy, I feel like it would be a lot harder for that. You know, a lot of our historical great artists, they didn't gain the popularity that they have now until after they died.
Yeah.
You know, this wasn't something they lived with. They lived broke as fuck, and their art came through their struggle, right?
Yeah.
You have the potential, and this is the first time that really you have a wide variety of artists working in industrial fields, right?
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about this a lot, you and I, about the industrialization of art.
Yeah.
Like a good example is this little logo I keep on the show, right, that Gardy made.
Mm-hmm.
That's art. I didn't necessarily commission it. The Merctus logo, things like that. That's art that, you know, if it outlives the artist and becomes something iconic later, that might not happen until after they fucking die. What do you do with the person in the meantime? Like, an hourly wage doesn't seem fair. A flat commission wage seems like the best possible way you could pay that motherfucker.
Well, like, here's the the other thing is, like, why does everything have to be a job just because you pursue it, right? Like, do you want to make art your job? Fucking pursue it and see if you can make some money at it.
Exactly.
Like,
yeah.
Like we have a weird idea of this worth and job and pay.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying, like, this is one of the reasons I don't have a problem with the UBI. Yeah. Because it would be so nice to me if, like, here's what I miss, right? Old school welfare. Like, as much as I hate to say it, like cash disbursement and EBT disbursement.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like, look, yeah, no, I didn't get a job because I'm not mentally suited to it. Well, you're going to have people like that, and you probably don't want them forced to work next to you if you're trying to get the economy to work. You want people who are ready to be at work.
It's nice to have a system for the people who are,
and I know so many people just said, oh, fuck no, my taxes. And I will make the same argument I have always made on this show. I'm not trying to raise your taxes. I don't believe in personal taxes, for one. Yeah. I believe they should all be business taxes. And even assuming we had the same tax base solely coming out of business, which we could, not having to charge anybody on personal taxes.
We'd sell more shit from our businesses, by the way.
Not just that, right?
Yeah. Arizona tea would be 99 cents everywhere.
One out of every $2 that you have that gets taxed out of you goes to the military, and one out of every $2 of those dollars goes to a black budget you're not allowed to see.
Yeah.
The military's got all the damn money. Our military budget is bigger than the next 17 countries combined.
Dude, I was watching a dude on TikTok the other day. He's a military guy, and it was just a quick rant from a sergeant. He said some shit like, "Look, I can lend out $14 million of equipment. I can have countless ammunition on me that I could probably go fire, for the most part, unsupervised. I can't have a toaster in my room."
Yeah.
It was like, talk to fucking money. The hell? That's backwards as shit. He's a whole top-down rewrite boy.
That also explains why they didn't have much of a problem leaving all of the military stuff in Afghanistan.
Oh, dude, well, I mean, From what I've seen, the military is quite upset about that.
My cousin straight found a rocket launcher in the back of a car.
Yeah.
God.
Yeah, no, it's like the military is quite upset about that.
Yeah.
Like I will tell you that because I know a lot of people in the military, both who have served and are still serving. And yeah, the universal feeling there seems to be that was not the correct move.
Dude, I still can't believe Cousin's photos from Kabul and just his trip to Afghanistan.
Look, I don't like
some of those were like, holy shit.
The only thing I
we
can
left
think
so much shit behind
is that they didn't feel like they could win a war against the rising ISIS-K, and they were just going to leave some supplies for the Taliban in hopes that they'd be able to beat the Taliban later with their own equipment.
I just wasn't expecting it to look like homeboys literally got out of their military vehicles in traffic and onto a plane.
Well, do you know how
fuck?
much top secret stuff in terms of equipment the Chinese now have access to?
Oh,
and the Russians now have access to?
So much.
Because
I thought the Taliban are working with the Chinese right now.
It's part of the Belt and Road Initiative. The Chinese are going through giving huge loans to any countries they can that'll take it.
What?
This happened a few years back. They sent a guy to Czechoslovakia with $1.5 billion, and his goal was to spend it as fast as possible. Yeah. And it's to ingratiate themselves in the local economies so that they can later seize it, right? So they'll build those roads, but the way that the contracts are designed, if Afghanistan defaults on payments, the Chinese own the roads and can send in troops to guard the roads. You got me? Because it's their investment. In Uganda, the Chinese are about to seize the only airport because they gave Uganda a loan with the airport as collateral.
Oh shit!
Yeah, that's like their diplomacy is one of two ways, right? If it's against India or anybody in the South Pacific, huge amounts of soldiers that they're just pushing up against a wall to functionally threaten everybody. Any other direction, as much money as they can spend it to anybody sympathetic.
Man, our sloppy pullout game.
Oh yeah, no,
this is the sloppiest pullout game,
dude. I think we are more worried about having to fight them on the other front because Japan just told fucking China, hey, like Abe Shinzo got on and said, if Taiwan has a problem, Japan's got a problem. And we all know that means America's got a problem. Meanwhile, we are bulking up our fleet. Like we're getting ready to potentially defend Taiwan in a war against China.
Whoa.
Could happen because China saw what Russia did with the Crimea.
Yeah.
Seized Crimea and is now butted up against Ukraine, acting like they might try and take Ukraine.
I mean, they've been talking about taking Ukraine for forever.
And so, typical whataboutism. Well, you're letting Russia do this. Why are you trying to stop us?
Yeah. Man, that could escalate quick. I hope that there's, diplomacy that happens.
Well, look, I'd be a lot less scared if they didn't just test that crazy hypersonic missile that had built-in anti-missile defense.
Whoa!
Yeah, the missile shoots a little kill vehicle off of it.
That's some Lex Luthor shit.
And dude, we say we're 3 years away from catching up.
Oh man! Well, we have a dude that left the fucking AI, like the programming branch of the government contract world, saying we're fucking never gonna catch up to anything.
Yeah, well, I don't agree with that, but I don't believe we're doing ourselves any good. And a lot of this has to do with us paying for constant world-round deployment because we put ourselves in the position of world police.
Yeah. Because
we're like, America's always going to be on top, and China's going to be the world's factory, but eventually they'll come around.
I mean, what if, man, you showed me a mock-up trailer, and I don't know if they ever ended up making it a full film, but do you remember Ghosts with Shit Jobs?
Oh, yeah.
That is a trailer that stuck with me. Just that was well done, A. And B, just the fascinating concept that jobs dried up here and American scabs went to China.
Yeah.
And everyone's doing these Chinese jobs.
If you read Snow Crash, which is where they lifted the term metaverse from, you'll see that how they crashed the U.S. economy in that book was by just pirate hosting all of our media.
Fuck.
Right? They were just like, we dare you to stop us. Every single thing you put out, every bit of software, every game, every movie, every TV show, we're going to host it all for free.
Death by bootleg.
Yeah, basically. And it totally destabilized our economy.
Fuck. Man. Death by Bootleg.
If you've never read that book, it's an amazing book. It was written to be a satire of the cyberpunk genre, but just ended up being a cornerstone of it.
Yeah.
They keep trying to make it into a movie, but it'll never happen.
That's a tough one.
It's because they want to make it into a movie. Like, it'd have to be like HBO, like probably Cinemax would do better, honestly.
There's episodes in that.
HBO would fuck it up. I do believe that. I don't know why. I can't put it in words, but I believe probably Showtime, or like a little lower budget and more freedom would be better for that show if they were going to do it.
They would do good for like the first 3 seasons, and then it would just get wrecked.
Oh yeah, no. Like if they made it to the end of the book, it would turn to trash. You know, they just, sometimes they have to learn that the best way to adapt a piece of media is to turn it into a single season done on British TV. It's like, give me 6 episodes and make every one of them feel like a not particularly cheap but not particularly expensive movie.
I think 6 to 8 hours is a fair amount of time to explore the concepts of a novel.
Yeah, and it's not just not a small novel.
Yeah.
It's also a very dense novel. It is one of the easiest to read and most information and linguistically dense books I've ever read, because Neil Stephenson can turn a phrase, man. There's this whole, like, he describes this character Raven as being the baddest motherfucker in the world. And it takes like 3 paragraphs, and you totally believe it.
Yeah.
And it's all because of how this guy realizes that there's no reason for him to ever aspire to that, because the position is taken.
Snow Crash is the one I borrowed from you. It's got the fucking full on. It's a brain in a fucking train, or whatever. There's like a machine man.
Oh yeah, no. That's Mr. Ng of Security. He's he had like a super cancer, but he has enough money to keep it in control, but he has to be in a vat the whole time. So he offers security services out of a big armored truck that was built that was originally a fire truck for an airport.
That's what it
was. It's a giant armored truck.
But the way it's described is
he refers to it as his wheelchair.
Yeah.
Like it's an amazing book, man. Like they'll never, because it is such a good work of someone who understands written language, you'll never translate it to having the same impact in film, because it is truly a written work of art. But man, I hope they try. Like, I'll watch it. Yeah. I'll definitely watch it.
Yeah,
But he's so gifted for that era. Like, it linguistically is not just the most like 90s shit you've ever read, even though it came out in 88. But it's like it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Because he's written it in such a way that you're still just lost in there, right?
Yeah.
Like how does it, like, there's a made up, like, book came out in 88. He's got a made up music style, like music genre played mostly by Eastern European immigrants called nuclear fuzz grunge. But he describes it as the aural equivalent of being thrown bodily into a wall of fish hooks. And I'm like, oh, so it's grindcore.
It's grindcore, dude. It's just Dillinger's escape plan. Sorry, Justin, what was that? Was that exactly what you were thinking too? It's like, no, this is great.
Yeah, no, the first time I read it, I was like, that's Napalm Death, man.
That's exactly what that, yeah.
You know, and the way he described, like, his description of the music is not Napalm Death. It's like if Sun or Khanate were playing shoegaze, is how he described it, right? Yeah. And it's like, oh, well, we only like to play in under giant abandoned overpasses because you get the most echoes. So that all these shrill sounds really, really fucking are disorienting. And I'm like, oh yeah, this sounds like an industrial music from the 70s. You know?
Hit that rig, what's the first thing you're playing? I'm like, I guess.
You know, and I think at this point, what's on the radio? Some shit like Pour Some Sugar on Me. You know?
The most like Poppy of Rock, like Mutt Lange at his Mutt Langest.
Yeah,
Mutt Lange at the tightest of crispest of Def Leppard production. That's something I could unusually nerd about, the production of Def Leppard.
Oh yeah.
Now, I like Def Leppard. I don't think I have downloaded or frequently put on any Def Leppard, but I can tell you all about the making of Hysteria and Pyromania.
Right. Well, you're a big production nerd,
Yeah.
and two, that's a good sounding record from for its era, and clarity and just representation.
Yeah.
Like, it might sound cheesy by modern standards, but listen to shit from before it and see if you can find stuff that's that clear.
I'll tell you what fucked me up.
It's almost sort of like that record is the Rain and Blood of glam hair metal.
Yeah.
Like, in terms of, like, suddenly the production game was upped.
When I used to think Def Leppard, Mutt Lange production, I used to think in my head I used to consider it the first era of hella processed vocals.
Right.
But I was wrong. If you pull up the stems, it's raw 2-mic vocal takes. Every Def Leppard song.
Oh, so no, he just made him do it.
They sing like that.
Yeah.
They sing like that live.
Well, no, I've heard that they're beyond
harmonious.
tight live. Yeah, like four people or three people in the band singing at one time while playing their instruments.
Freddie
like, guys, I
Mercury's-
can't sing and play unless what I'm playing is basically a complementary rhythm to what I'm singing. I'm not, like, I can't James Hetfield. I wish I could.
They're so tight.
They're the reason why I'm a folk singer.
Mutt Lange had them phasing each other out in ways that sounds like a phaser.
Wow.
Live in studio. And then they do it live on fucking stage.
I mean, they've all got to have perfect pitch.
They're really solid. It's a Phil Collin, the fucking guitar player, and then that singer, man. Those two can just, when they get together, their voices, man. And Mutt Lange helped them, like, dude could produce a track like he's doing surgery. Like, he was very precise. But so that's why I always thought he put an effect on just the lead singer's vocal. Like, you could pull a Freddie Mercury stem and, like, yes, that's impressive. One man is being very impressive. But this, where it's two men being poppy as fuck?
Sorry.
It's wild.
So, Phil Spector, go.
Oh, Phil Spector. My favorite Phil Spector story is when John Lennon took out a full-page ad in the New York Times. It was a bolo. Be on the lookout. I can't find my fucking producer. Please tell Phil Spector to come to work.
I don't know if this is true, but I've heard that
hilarious.
Phil Spector pulled a gun on the Ramones.
He did. He pulled a gun on the Ramones.
Like, to keep them from leaving the studio.
Yes. He's fucking insane.
Did you see that? Hey, I see John's here, man. Did you get a chance yet to watch that thing on Warren Zevon?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, dude, no, that's the best. Like, it's not just 30 minutes on Warren Zevon. It's like, how would you like to hear about the history of Warren Zevon and why he was into mercenaries and the mercenaries that probably inspired the song "Rollin' the Headless Thompson Gunner" and the bit of Scandinavian folk music that he probably robbed the melody from?
Oh, shit.
Dude, it's the most deep dive on that shit that I've ever seen. Somebody put it out like at the beginning of this year. It's not got enough views.
They're like, this isn't just a shout out to specific people. There's a Scandinavian folk connection that makes it even more of a shout out to that community.
No, absolutely, because Roland's supposed to be from Norway.
Of folk music.
Say again?
Most European metal is an evolution of folk music.
I would say that,
and
I've said for years that if you want to understand the difference between European and American music, it has to do with us not giving a shit about scales or key changes.
Yeah.
Like, you listen to European metal and it is damn near, it's folk music, but it is like, there's always that nod to classical melody, unless they're trying their hardest to be atonal, and then they tend to still get fucking
blues.
Well, it did. It's not fair to just put it on blues, and I will fight people on this one. The area I grew up in is a huge, still to this day, blues community. Yeah. It is important to understand that if you really want to know where rock, I come from a town just south of Elvis, man. I know what he was robbing. You got me. And it's not just blues, though it's inseparable from blues. I need to make that clear.
Yeah, that's more like what I was meaning.
But also, it's Irish folk music. It's the hill music that Jake's aware of.
Yeah.
You mix those two things together, you either get skiffle or American rock.
Or American rock. Yeah, that's true.
And there's a reason that the American rock band or the British rock bands almost all started off as skiffle bands.
Skiffle bands. The speed picking is a big part of it.
Yep, big part of it. And they've always had more of an emphasis on technicality in general.
Yeah.
Like we've got EVH, who's actually Danish.
That's true. Yeah.
And what happens? Ingwe has to show everybody up.
Yes, true.
Ingve.
Yeah.
Ingwe.
Can I get a side of scalped fretboards, please? That's
Boston Cheddar fretboard, please.
Is that his real name or is that a stage name?
No, that's his name. Ingve Malmsteen.
Ingve, yeah.
Ingve is apparently a not uncommon Scandinavian first name.
Yeah, it's based off an old god name.
Yeah. That's see, I always wondered that too, Justin. Like, is that a state? I wonder if because I don't know. It's hard for me to take dude seriously, but I can't deny he's got shreds, and then the amp thing, the no distortion. Like he's
he's just a product of his time.
Yeah, I take him about as seriously as Dave Mustaine, and by that I mean hell of a composer. I'm not being an asshole like I used to be when I said that.
Hey, man, look, if you like the guitar and don't enjoy Rising Force, I think you're lying.
Yeah.
It's a good record.
Yeah. You're hateful, you're jealous if you don't like it. It's because you're jealous. You're a guitar player and you're jealous.
No rush, John. I just think you'll find it interesting.
Yeah. Oh, what up, John? There he is. Oh, but man.
Hey guys, I'll head out for a bit, so I'll hop back on later.
Hell yeah.
Sure thing.
Take her easy, Christy.
All right, see you guys later.
Later. So yeah, how about Engelbert Humperdinck as a stage name?
Oh man, I was reading the other day. Man, he was like married to somebody, or that name came up the other day, and I always forget that is a real human being.
Garfunkel too, is it?
His name is Paul Dorsey, or something like that, and he called himself. He sat there and said, and it came up with Engelbert Humperdinck.
Humperdinck, yeah. Hey, that's
but yeah, I will say like that is one of those cases of the ridiculous name you do remember him.
Who makes their marquee name their writer demand? You know what I mean? Like, you better have letters for that marquee, boy. My name's Engelbert Humperdinck.
Eddie Izzard does a whole bit about that. It's hilarious.
Oh man,
it's like he's sitting there thinking, let's see, Humperdeth, no, Humperty dumped, and he goes through all these. Humperdinck, yes, it's perfect.
Make a poor marquee worker, dude setting up a marquee sweat, dude.
No, like him and You Shall Know Us by Our Trail of the Dead. Like people just gave up with the long band names when they dropped. They were like, "Oh, they win."
My artist name, quadriplegic xylophone assassin, is my marquee name, baby. You better have the letters. You need like 18 S's.
Nice.
You can replace them with $signs, which you better have. Because we're putting.
Well, I got in late. What's going on?
Oh, nothing much today, man. We're just chit-chatting. Preheated the oven today, so we've been just on one. But haven't done a tattered map in like a week, and hella pumped to...
Yeah, no, I know you weren't feeling that good last week, and I felt like trash.
I felt like hot garbage for like a solid month. But I'm feeling like yesterday I felt really good. We had a really good stream. I'm feeling really good today. So I'm pumped to crush a tattered map today.
My God, I mean, how many hours? I'm out there in the internets as much as you are now, man.
Oh man. Humperdinck. Sorry, he wrote it as Zito wrote it out in the chat. Forgot how ridiculously it's spelled. Oh man. Or Gaddafi. Our favorite of murdered dictators.
Look, there's lots of criticisms a person could levy toward, like, to put it lightly, could levy toward Gaddafi. But saying he didn't have drip isn't one of them. Like, oh my God,
undeniable drip, undeniable.
Like he was the fashion icon of geopolitics until he died.
Bitch will represent all of Africa with each piece of his ensemble. Gaddafi.
Well, Special, let me ask you a question, Special.
Yeah.
You said somewhere on the Discord here, I saw where you wrote about there's more information about, let me make sure I get it right, Wayfair. Could you tell me a little about what that is?
Human trafficking.
Yeah, no, I can't have been. I may have been hammered in the middle of the night after having read a bunch of terrible or been studying a bunch of terrible things related to human trafficking when I posted that. What was concert tickets? Yeah, there's this thing going on where they're selling like concert tickets for like 10 grand, 15 grand, 30 grand. Yeah, and it's got, whoever wants to buy them.
What? No, I mean,
well, there was Wayfair was a conspiracy theory, a human trafficking conspiracy theory from a year or two back.
Yeah.
And it was that the company Wayfair was also a front for human trafficking. And that the reason that some of their plain models of stuff that you could buy, like you could buy that cabinet somewhere for $500, they'd have them marked up to like $75,000.
Wow.
There's
and you have to keep in mind that when this conspiracy theory pops up is at the height of like the Comet Ping Pong Pizzagate stuff, which when we do the map today, look guys, I'm not talking about that shit because I don't know what's going on there, and I suspect that it's actually a counterintelligence operation. But what I'm going to be talking about today is going to be what was going on in England in the late 70s and early 80s and how it snared a lot of people involved in the British government with a known pedophile network. So if you want to know why people are flipped out about things like this and will create stories to justify these things, basically it feels like out of thin air, it's because historically there's some precedent for having suspicion that these things are going on.
Yeah.
When I first got married, we lived in Hollywood, Florida, and I was going over to the old lady's grandparents' house all the time for dinner a lot.
Right.
I walked in one time, and Cuban people barely spoke English, but they were pretty cool, and they were watching their channel, which was like Univision or Telemundo,
Right.
And there was a lady performing at that time. Now we're talking about 94, 95, and she was like apparently a huge pop star in Latin circles named Talia. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now my mouth hung open, and I told her, I said, who is that creature? Bathe her and bring her to me. I thought it was funny. Anyway, so they're also watching another one, and you guys reminded me about this because now I need to go in and look into it, whatever happened. But there was another pop star in their circles named Gloria Trevi. Okay.
Right.
And apparently, since I don't read Spanish very well, but I used to see the magazines on their coffee table.
Right.
And in their version of People magazine and stuff, Espanol, apparently I just saw a lot of exclamation points, and she was being taken out in handcuffs, this Gloria Trevi. Apparently she was bringing like that chick from Smallville who was joining that harem, by that guy.
She
Gloria
was
Trevi
girls to who?
To some producer that she worked for, and the story sounds an awful lot like this Maxwell chick. Okay, as far as what she was doing and getting involved in, and she ended up catching like 8 years in prison.
I vaguely remember seeing something about that a few years back, or a pop star in South America who, got arrested for human trafficking, but I didn't know. Did you say it was connected to the Nexium case? Or that same MO.
Detail.
Yeah. Damn.
I mean, that was years earlier. But
I need to look into that because see, one thing that happened is, in the 70s and 80s especially, we were involved in South America from the time Cuba went into revolt, and even before. But we became super heavily involved in South America from the time E. Howard Hunt helps kill Che Guevara on. And especially like down in Chile, when Pinochet's there, they had that place set up like a technocratic republic. Everybody had a file and they had computers. Like the whole country was one of the most technologically advanced computer-wise in the hemisphere outside of the U.S. And I suspect that these stay behind armies and these human smuggling operations, and every other type of crime, basically, was tied together and was originally operated as a hub out of Chile and then eventually moved over to Brazil. And Brazil's got, because of their laws, they've got some of the most, when I say cultural redundancy, I mean, like, do you want to use a programming language? You might have to invent one if it's not from Brazil. That's how strong of protectionism they have on their electronics. Like a PlayStation down there, like a PS4, not like just a PS4, cost about $6,000 because of the import duty on it.
Whoa! Dude.
That's why Sega manufactured Master Systems down there for forever.
That's import duty spelled DOODY, dude. That's some import duty, dude. That's some nonsense. Those minerals would be just fucking crazy.
It's insane. All imported electronics are that way. But because of that, they have a huge domestic electronics, right?
How much they selling the Soldier console for down there? What's up, Soldier Boy?
I watched this guy do 30 minutes in English going around like little Brazilian game markets.
Oh, shit.
And yeah, they are the same consoles.
Oh, shit.
Like the same as the Soldier consoles. They're just not branded.
I have the funniest video to show you. I can't on stream, so I'll show you off stream.
What I was trying to tie back to is that the human trafficking tied to the entertainment industry in South America is going to be tied, to their media industry. And what's the backbone of media for the last 20 years? Computerization.
Yeah.
And nobody's going to have files on the rest of South America, like Brazil, who also coincidentally makes a ton of programming, children's programming. Do you remember Shusha?
Oh, yeah. Oh, dude, Coco Melon.
Of course.
Yeah. Yo, Stan Odie, are you still with us? Coco Melon. Your kid watching Coco Melon yet? It's coming. Coco Melon.
Actually, special. I have actually seen some, how can I put it? She was a children's star, on their TV, but I
heard there was like a nude scandal after she grew up.
Yeah, I've seen some compromising photos of Bethusia,
yeah, no, like that's well, the thing is, I think she put them out there.
Yeah,
like I think that was just a brand pivot for her. I'm not sure.
Well, you know what they say, any publicity is good publicity.
Well, it's bizarre. It reminds me of like how the AV idols work in Japan, which is a fucking nightmare, dude. Because like you will be 4 different people.
Yeah.
Like you'll be somebody for 5 years and then you'll go away. Who knows what you're doing? Yeah. And then you show up rebranded with a whole different name, doing a whole different thing.
Whole different thing.
Sounds like wrestling.
Yeah, no, like I would tell you that I believe the secret to American politics is to view it like wrestling.
That time Japanese TV kidnapped a guy?
What?
They held a dude for a fucking TV show and he lived off of coupons. Remember that guy? He was fucking and he has fucking, to this day, like, can't speak right. He can't stand having clothes on. He woke up naked in a fucking televised room with nothing in it.
Yeah.
Are you talking about Eggplant?
Yes, I'm talking about Eggplant.
Yeah. It's insane. The Japanese,
yeah, Eggplant.
Like, keep in mind, Japan has been our number one base in Asia, all of Asia, since we nuked them.
Oh yeah.
We got a bunch of their problematic scientists too. Like I believe it's Unit 746 was doing Mingala shit to the Russians that they had captured.
Well, I'll never be able to thank them, and I'll never be able to thank them enough for Godzilla. So you can't say anything wrong about the Japanese, please.
Oh no! It's not about the culture, man. Whenever you hear me talk about things like that, I'm talking specifically about the military apparatus. Well, I know. I want to be clear to everybody in that sense, like for me, because we use linguistic shorthand, and that's become a way to undercut what someone's saying by saying that they meant more than they did. And I know you're kidding too. I'm not like, don't feel bad. You're not meant to. I specifically want to address it because I've seen a lot of, not here, but I've seen so much of that, man. And I don't want folks to be able to do that to me because, once again, peace, love, heavy artillery. I love everybody, and that, like in a real hippie sense, I do. I like humanity. Like,
well, if I may take a moment, gentlemen, both of you, particularly you, Special. Little knob polishing here, okay? You are two of the most fascinating individuals I've ever met, to be honest with you.
Oh, well, thank you, man.
I've met a lot of people, right? And I mean, I'm not trying to brag, but I'm just saying. This morning, I was talking to the guy who does our meetings, and the topic came up about something. I wasn't talking about you guys, but I was telling them about an opportunity I had. Hey, I called up a radio station back when, you remember Michael Jackson had a big song called "It's Black, It's White."
And dude, that, like when I was a kid, I loved that jam. I was such an MJ fan as a little kid.
Yeah, me too.
Well, they had just played it. It was on regular rotation. You know how that goes when they get a song on the radio, they play it to death. But I wanted to hear it again because I was having a few drinks, right? And I called up the radio station, got right into the main switchboard, and I'm talking to these guys. I made a couple of jokes about a rival radio station's guy. He used to be called Steve Mr. Beach Leonard, okay? And I told him, and he's a balding guy, and I joked about the balding beach guy on the other channel seems like a jerk. And they loved it, right? They thought it was hilarious. They loved my voice. They said, hey, you should come on down.
You've got a great voice.
They said, "Well, come down here about 2:00, and we could give you a little audition, man. Maybe we could give you something to do." I said, "I'd love that." They said, "Yeah, have you ever been asked about that?" I said, "Well, no. People say I have a good voice." So anyway, I was getting ready to go down there. I stopped by a buddy's house, and at 2:00, I was shit-faced at this guy's house and didn't even give it a second thought. One of the big regrets in my life, right? One of the big regrets in my. And I was talking to my guy today about that. And how we do some stuff, especially in the midst of using that we regret later on. But well,
I want to interject one thing. Oh, go ahead.
No, I'm just gonna say, discovering you guys here, okay, is probably the coolest and biggest thing I have done since being sober.
Well, I want to say two things about that. One, I went to school for radio, and you have a perfect voice for radio. You really do. You have a perfect voice for radio, right? Which means you have a perfect voice for podcasting.
I got a face for radio.
Well, like, look at how I'm looking up in here today, man. I'm unshaved, looking rough, and I'm up 25 pounds since I moved here. But two, face for radio, not a thing. Yeah, I like. To invert that polishing, man. No, you've got an interesting face, and that's not code for ugly. Like you have a face that will stick in people's mind. Yeah. You could do your own channel.
Yeah.
Like I understand if you don't have the setup, but even the setup's not that much if you decide to work toward it, right? And certainly we would help you as much as we could on the back end, but you could do your own channel, and I believe you'd do good because you have an excellent voice.
Yep.
Like, and it's not just about the voice, but man, that's like on a 1 to 10, you've got like a fucking 10 of a voice. You have and that's, I'm not exaggerating. You have an amazingly good voice. The one thing I would tell you would have to do, right, would be go up to your local community college or wherever like that and take 1 semester of a public speaking class. And they will turn you on to some things that will get you to talk smoother.
Right.
You'll be more capable of staying on task the way I know you want to be. And that's like, look, I know what it's like. You've heard me up here, I'll go side to side to side on a subject. And that's the only thing that's ever helped. That's the only thing that helped me was going to that class.
Yeah.
Well, I can latch on to something like you're talking about exactly. Here, let me give you one example about what you just said now. You were talking to me in complimentary and giving me some good direction, some good suggestion. And what I stuck on, because I wanted to elaborate on it, was when you said about the I forget the exact term, but basically good looks, but the interesting looks, not exactly, traditionally, hot dude or anything, right? And I've been accused, like, by my ex, okay, because, she is pretty good about being able to spot attractive women and stuff. And I told you guys a story one time to the point where I go, man, is she gay or what? And I thought it was pretty cool. But anyway, she pointed out that the ladies I like in television, the movies, okay, right. I don't go with traditional, who's the Pam Anderson, let's say.
Right, you don't go for the American Hollywood ideal of beauty. Well, I think you're probably on the front of the curve, like a lot of people in the current culture who've recognized that concept of beauty's really been holding us back for forever. Yeah. And another thing, and here's what I want to get to with that. Like, one, when you try and judge yourself, you got to keep in mind you're not your type.
Yeah.
Right.
And the other thing is, when I talk about charisma, I use a very specific definition from Marshall McLuhan, which is that you look like other people.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Like, you don't look exactly like one or another, but you look enough like enough other people that have been celebrities in one sense or another that there's automatically going to be an association there. And this is like PR shit.
Yeah.
You know?
Like,
so you've got a ton of things working for you. But what were you going to say, Mark?
Oh, I got a childhood story that kind of goes to the importance of an oratory class. You know, I've told you this story before, but there's kind of some details I realize in retrospect I leave out of this story. In junior high, I started living with my father and developed a relationship with my father. He was doing really well. I was probably 15 at the time. I had quite a bit of experience performing in front of people, but I was such a nervous wreck outside of being on a stage that I couldn't order food for. I was uncomfortable talking to people at fast food places.
Yeah. Right.
And my father, he didn't just make me take an oratory class. He made me take a speech. He made me take speech, like, you know, public speaking, until I passed it. And by made me, what I mean is he put a challenge in front of me. He did it in a way, the way he did it to me was really clever in retrospect. He knows the kind of person I am, and he was like, almost challenged me. Like, I know I've seen you in front of this. And the first time I failed an oratory class, he was like, who performs live every weekend and can't pass a speech class?
Right?
What's the deal? What's going on here? And I'm like, and he's like, no, words.
Yeah.
Like, and without that, like, it's incredibly important. I think those.
Well, I think having the structure, like, because the thing is, people, you speak English naturally and well.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Excellently, in fact.
Definitely. Absolutely.
What I would say is that, like, when I talk about structure, public speaking is a thing that's designed to grab, hold the attention while communicating, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you've got that structure, you know how it's almost like learning to drive. You got me?
Right.
Like you don't have to think about hitting the brake pedal.
No, yeah, it becomes
like, you don't think, it's time for me to hit. Like, it just fucking happens.
Yeah,
there's no thought involved. You put your foot down when it goes.
Yeah,
you know, and like negotiating speaking becomes like that.
Yeah,
it really, or a lot more like that. I'll put it that way. You were talking. I was going to say as an aside, dude. The first time I had such performance anxiety that I worked myself into a fucking fit crying because I was going to have to go march in the Christmas parade for band, and I just couldn't take it. I don't know why, but I just couldn't take it.
Yeah, you know, there's a lot of hyping myself up I have to do for certain things. You know, you might hear some aggressive ass hip hop in this apartment before I do this stream some mornings.
Yeah.
Like, that's just, but there's little things, like my father too, he'd fuck with me, man. When I'm in the midst of, like, learning how to speak publicly, he'd put me in situations.
Right.
Like, we might be at dinner and he'd just be like, what you think about that? And I'm like, fuck, I'm this shy kid at the back of the class. Well, in my opinion, you know, I gotta go off on, you know, and used to, I was only open like that with my grandfather, old Guzzlebang.
Right.
That's the only person, I mean, other than my grandmother raised me till I was 10, basically, and then she passed away. But I would talk to her about anything, and she taught me to read and write. But, like, her and my grandfather I'd talk to openly. But after they were really gone or weren't as present in my life, my grandfather's case, I just clammed up, man. I probably didn't, I barely spoke. I was known as a quiet person.
Well, you know, I got past that to a degree, and I was pretty wild in high school, but for me, what really got it was that we had a local college radio station, and they would let anybody come up and sign up for a slot. And so I signed up for a slot, and after like a couple years of being on the radio at 11 at night, on like a Tuesday.
Yeah.
For a couple hours.
Yeah.
I got to where I could easily talk to a microphone, even if I still had anxiety about being in the room with people. And eventually I got past that.
Let me interject one thing, okay? I kind of gave myself, like you're talking about, Merc, a trial by fire, as it were, because I realized early on that if I wanted A, B, or C, I was going to have to probably do a little talking to obtain it.
Yeah.
And when I got into collecting all these movie posters, okay, and then at the time I wanted a mannequin to turn into a robot from Westworld, I Yul Brynner, where you take the face off and you got all the wires behind it. Anyway, I needed a mannequin. So I actually picked up my, this is going to be embarrassing, but I picked up my speech patterns and things from observing the people that rubbed off on me off of TV. So what I ended up being a product of Victor Newman from The Young and the Restless, Eric Breeden,
right.
and I picked up a lot from Gene Hackman's performance as Lex Luthor in the second Superman movie. Okay, the three Kryptonian bad guys are sitting in the White House that they've halfway destroyed, and they're trying to decide, so what can we fuck with now? And Gene Hackman shows up because he wants to get their help to kill Superman, and he's waving a handkerchief, and he goes, hello. He goes, so how are you? And he introduces himself. He goes, Lex Luthor, criminal mastermind. And I said to myself, well, that's the way you got to be, which is probably not exactly the best examples, but I went down to my local department store, place is 100 years old, the biggest thing, all over Virginia and the East Coast. And I walked into the visual arts office after talking to a receptionist. I walk in, and these two dudes, who actually I didn't know they were a couple, and sadly, they both died of AIDS. I'm digressing. They both died of AIDS at the same time. It was really sad. But when I met them, they were at their peak. Okay, great guys. So I walked in, and I said, gentlemen, I'm not here to sell you anything. What I'm here for is what I can get from you. And they loved it, right? And
yeah, you just charmed the pants off. How old were you at the time?
I would have been 13.
Yeah, so you just charmed the hell out of them.
I proceeded to tell them what I needed and why I needed it. I told them I was doing a movie for school, but it was just for me. And they proceeded to take me down to the basement, a sub basement, where they had these bins. It was almost kind of creepy because there was these chicken wire little storage bins with all these parts for mannequins in them, right? And they let me put together a couple that I could, figure out what kind of arms I wanted. All that. And I ended up pushing a shopping cart filled with mannequin parts all the way from downtown out to my grandma's in the West End. And, I heard everything as people riding down the street, want to get the real thing, all this shit. Well, anyway,
I'm just imagining this. Right? Go ahead. Sorry.
No. Then the other example was I really wanted the movie posters, and I would go to managers at theaters and say, hey, could I possibly get the one sheet when you're done with it? And it helped that I knew the real terms for these things, right? The standees, the big cardboard things. So anyway, so I'm talking to them about that, and they suggested that I contact the guy who does all the advertising, who I'm still friends with. And I go down to his office, and he's in the high rise downtown. I go up into their office, and he lets me go through the file cabinets and pick anything I want. I can take whatever I want. And I filled bags up with all kinds of photographs and posters.
Hell yeah.
It was great. It was great. Okay. And I accomplished all that just by talking. Then I used to get in trouble, okay, till I had this newspaper article come out, and then, they talked about my it was called the spare time section, and I was down at the newspaper office picking up a bunch of press kits when this lady was looking for something to write about, and she said, how long you been doing that? And next thing you know, she's asking me all kinds of questions. She said she wants to do an article. She took a picture of me sitting at her desk with a bunch of photographs out in front of me, and I was 14 at that time,
right?
And it made it into the paper the next week, and I showed.
Did
that
you
to
do
my
much
parents.
sales? When you got
being...
older, did you do much sales work?
Well, you know what? Over the years, I went to work for a place called Wyndham Resorts in Florida that trying to sell timeshare.
Yeah, that was a timeshare. You told me about that. Man, you should do some sales.
Yeah.
There
was something we were talking to.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing, though. I felt like I was a prostitute because I got a job doing some kind of coupon books, trying to sell them, and the first couple weeks they pay you hourly, but after that it's all commission.
Well, I'll tell you, having done sales, man, here's the key to not feel like a prostitute, right? Don't sell anything that you're not into.
Well,
for real. Like if you don't want to if you don't want to deal with those feelings, you have to just not deal with the type of stuff that you don't feel comfortable selling.
I'm comfortable being a prostitute. I've always taken issue with people who maybe don't take pride in that situation. Now here's the thing, it's you feel that way because you there's no self-esteem. You're selling yourself. Anything you sell, any good salesman will tell you, you're selling yourself first. First you got to convince that person to buy something from you, right? And again, my father, incredibly successful salesperson when he puts his mind to it. Right. My cousin, world-renowned, Interpol-known good salesperson, right? And they say the same shit about sales, and it's this. It's not just like, yes, everything special guest said, yes. That's number 2 on the list. Number 1, yourself, self-esteem. Yeah. You are selling yourself. It is prostitution. But it's the oldest fucking profession known to man, and you should be proud that you're doing it.
You won't make a sale unless people trust you, which is why you're selling yourself. Now, choose what you're selling because it's based on them trusting you. Like
you gotta
that's my feeling. Yeah, you gotta have.
Out, okay? I figured. Okay, this job came up. It was in the paper. This is about late 80s. Okay, I was still doing the projectionist thing, but that was starting to fizzle out. I was going to need to get a job. So I found this job, telephone solicitation, no problem. And I go down there to see what it's about, what's going on. The first one I did was thermoguard windows, okay? So you're not really having to be too shiesty on that because that's a kind of thing where either they need it or they don't, okay?
Utilitarian.
But the other one that they had me do, okay, and this is when I got fired, okay, and this is why I say I felt like a scumbag. So I had this job selling people on the phone jellies and shit for the police and the fire department, you know?
Right.
So it seemed pretty, you know, on the up and up, right? So I went ahead and I did it, okay? I did it for a couple weeks, and one day this little old lady was about to go for the sale. And they encouraged me to, you know, get them to go for credit card because, of course, that's instant gratification rather than a check money order. Well, this poor old lady sounded like she could hardly get out of her chair, but she wanted to buy something. So I said to her, "Oh, it's okay, miss. You can just send us a check." And I didn't know that the manager's walking around checking out each one of us with an earphone that plugs into each call, you know. And so he overheard my call, actually telling the lady not to worry, you know, because she sounds like she couldn't get up. And after I hang up, he takes me in the office and he reams me out. He said, "You just talked about using a credit card." I said, "Because she sounded like she could barely walk, sir." And they fired me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Damn.
And I just felt,
that's like that's the type of place I wouldn't be able to find myself working for.
Yeah.
You know, like I worked as a pawnbroker for a while, like, and that's a rough job, man. You know, I was pretty well working the gun line, and eventually, you know, and I'm not talking shit on the pawn shop that I worked for, you know, because I knew what job I was doing. But I decided I didn't want to do it anymore one day. What really got me, there'd been some other things, but I guess what pushed me over the edge was there was this old lady who came in and paid on this amazing Remington Model 8. And one day I go to look it up, and like this had to have been like her dad's gun, you know, and she had to be somebody's great grandma.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And she could have bought another one of those twice easily in immaculate shape versus what she paid us over years. I don't want to give out any specifics, but I'm like, you know, like you're talking about a gun that would probably have at that point fetched about $2,800 or so.
Yeah.
You know, and at that point I was like, it was sort of the same thing. It was like, well, I know for a fact I've helped people, but in this case I feel pretty damn bad. So yeah, I guess I'm moving on to the next thing.
Exactly.
Sales can be a tough one. Sales can be a tough one.
Yeah, and yeah, but I'll also say, you know, I'm the one who decided to work at a pawn shop. I know how the pawn game works.
Well, listen,
if I had a pawn shop, I'd do it a little different, you know.
I just want to go back to one thing because it's stuck in my mind now. It's funny, but when you were talking about the uncharacteristic, you know, type of looks, right? I was about to say that, obviously everybody, who has, two eyes goes, oh, Marilyn Monroe, she's an icon of beauty, you're Cindy Crawford, or whatever. And here's my thing, okay?
Mhm.
If you ever saw Orange is the New Black, okay,
Right.
and a bunch of other stuff too, but this girl named Natasha Lyonne, okay, she was also one of the lead
she was in an amazing comedy show that Angel watched. This sort of like an inversion of Groundhog's Day.
Oh shit!
Like she keeps killing herself, basically.
shit.
No, it's
Russian Doll.
Yeah, Russian Doll. Russian Doll was really good. No, I like Natasha Lyonne, and I think like that's the type of person that I have always thought was pretty, and that when I was growing up, I would have heard from a ton of people was ugly and not get it.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying.
But
Even my wife said-
the era that you
She
and
said she
even
felt-
you and I grew up in, right, had such a different view of beauty than what we've come to accept now.
Yeah.
Well, my first ever, I'd say my first ever crush was the Bionic Woman, okay, Lindsay Wagner. But after that, okay, after being a teenager and, actually having girlfriends and stuff, the first chick I ever saw on TV and said, oh my God, I want to marry her. I wasn't going to shoot a president over or anything, but, I was pretty into this chick, okay, was this show called Too Close for Comfort, some shitty sitcom with Ted Knight. And one of his daughters was a brunette named Deborah Van Valkenburg, who was also in the Warriors, you might remember.
Yeah.
And she, okay, I mean, I don't mean for the ladies, I don't mean to sound misogynistic, okay, but she really didn't have a build to her, if you follow me. She wasn't, voluptuous or anything, just the opposite. But there's something about her, I was just in love with.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
What year were you born, if you don't mind me asking?
No, 66.
66. Okay, so when you were a kid, most of the media that you would have been associated with, in terms of not like new stuff on TV, but like historically, like stuff that they'd be showed as reruns, second features, stuff like that on film, right? Was going to be older stuff from an era before about 1960, when Twiggy and what's her name, Breakfast at Tiffany's. Audrey Hepburn, when they really hit the public zeitgeist and made it so that like Jane Mansfield had to go on a stripper tour because she couldn't get work, because the entire cultural view of what was now beautiful had changed, right? But and this is something Konrad Lorenz got a Nobel Prize in the 70s over, is we have what are called pattern imprint scenarios, right? And early in, we imprint like what we think is beautiful. And some people, in fact, a lot of people, they just imprint what they like and that's it. And a lot of people, it's just whatever's around, or especially was popular when they were young in media, because they saw it so often, right?
Special. Let me give you this one. Okay?
Yeah.
Let me just interject this. I don't mean to step all over you, but I get so excited because you'll hit on something that I'm like, ooh, I know this one. Right. Okay. When I was into, Deborah Van Valkenburg, okay, I couldn't honestly tell you what the look was for people back then. Okay, but I want to go a little forward. Okay, now we're talking since I've been married and stuff. Okay, late 80s throughout the 90s. One of the ladies I thought was, and again, ladies, I don't mean to sound like a misogynistic guy. I'm just talking about when I was a kid, when I was younger, but who I thought was quote unquote hot. Okay, is the lady who played the ex-wife of Fraser Crane, okay, and her name was Lilith on there, and in real life it's Bibi Nurin, and it turns out she's a big Broadway actress, right? And she does all kinds of shit, okay, little roles in motion pictures like.
But she was like the first person or an early person that just blew your mind. Yeah,
I mean, because there was one episode of Cheers or Frasier, whichever, that she was on a talk show, and apparently she was getting hypnotized. And she kind of fell during the hypnosis. She fell for Ted Danson. So she opens her. She's always wearing a bun like a librarian, but she pulled open her hair and it just flowed everywhere. It was her real hair, And I'm like, oh my God, she's gorgeous. So I liked that kind of curly-ish hair. Okay, so when I got really older, okay, I got into Gloria Estefan. I thought she was the hottest in the. Right. And I got to Miami, and I actually got a chance to meet her and get her autograph. And that was cool, okay? But what I wanted to say was, when Mission Impossible came out with Tom Cruise, the first one, like 96, okay?
God, it has been that long. Go ahead, sir.
Okay, Now, if you look at soap operas, okay, because I was exposed to them with my grandmother and my mother.
Dude, soap operas are culturally very important. Like they were forever the dominant predictor of the year's baby names that would be most popular.
Yeah. Yes. That's where I was going. So the thing was, okay. As a matter of fact, there was a character on Guiding Light who was a real bitch, but we liked her anyway.
Yeah.
And again, I told you the wife was pretty cool about stuff like this. She goes, "Oh, that Olivia is hot, isn't she?" And so my daughter always thought her name was Olivia, that it was because of the singer. And I didn't have the heart to tell her, no, it's because of this broad on a soap opera that your mom and I thought was hot. Okay, so I never. Okay, but the other reason I mentioned the soap operas, okay, and you just touched on it, it was because I learned later you could see the influences. So when Cruise did Mission Impossible in '96, okay, he had what was known for a while as the Caesar haircut, where they comb your hair forward and shave it down, okay, and all the dudes on the soap operas during that time had that haircut, okay, a lot of them, all right. So when Gloria was actually big, Gloria Estefan, when she was pretty big, okay, maybe it was just me. Like they say, you don't notice a lot of Volkswagens around till you own one, then all of a sudden you see them everywhere.
Right.
Well, I just started noticing that every movie and every television series seemed to have a lot of the ladies who looked like they could be mulatto or Latina, and they had the Gloria Estefan hair.
Once she crossed over, right? Gloria Estefan, I think, is actually really important to bring up culturally. Once she crossed over, that was a big crossover culturally. Like her and Paula Abdul, basically. Were a big part of basically de-whitening the media landscape of the late 80s, early 90s era. You know, because you saw a huge period during the Reagan years where, man, everything I was watching when I was a kid in reruns was really well integrated. There was a lot of representation in what I saw on TV. Maybe it was my market being in Mississippi, but, you know, it definitely went away through the 80s and the early 90s, man. It was like 90% white cast, 2 tokens. You know, and I like that was visible to me. But no, go into the soap operas, right? One of the scariest things that I learned when I first started going to school for broadcast is that there were a significant amount of the population, something like 5 to 7%, that, and this is before reality TV, that did not understand that soap operas were not real.
Yeah, I get it, man.
And soap operas have such a huge cultural influence because everybody's grandmama's watching them.
Yeah.
So everybody sees it. They're one of the biggest culturally influencing things out there. And when they see something popular in the zeitgeist that sells, they put it in the soap opera because they're trying to make some money off of it. And
John,
they sell people.
Do the phone flip thing. We got these old man camera skills again. I don't know what the fuck you're showing us.
Okay, all
right,
hold on.
Square it up proper. Yeah, do the camera flip.
Okay, I'm going in.
There you go. So you can see what we're looking. We can see what we're looking at. Homeboy hit us with Joker's fingertip yesterday. It cracked me up.
It's just a still of Gloria that I was showing you. While I was down there painting, I found a bunch of my old stuff, like I told you. And but yeah, the soap opera thing seemed to be the most, referential as far as like everybody's fashions were starting to be like this, and everybody, and so going back to like now, currently, I really got into that girl that you guys watch called Jessica Jones. Okay, I didn't care for the show that much. But
what's
the
her name?
She's
Kristen Ritter.
Kristen Ritter, yeah, she's also in Breaking Bad for a season, right?
Yes.
She's an amazingly good actress. She's good at playing mean, but
she's not.
I think she gets typecast.
Terry Hatcher.
Yeah, she is not Terry. She's pointier. She's a lot pointier.
Distinguishing features that make her not Terry Hatcher. I am face blind to a certain demographic of female human, and I just assume you're Terry Hatcher if you got that. If you kind of a skinny brunette. I don't mean to.
He's just sort of they're all Terry Hatcher to him.
I'm just kind of face blind, man.
But yeah, Kristen Ritter.
She reminded me. She could have been the younger sister of Deborah Van Valkenburg when she was in her prime. Okay, so all that being said, the wife tells me, yeah, you like. I mean, she was joking at one point. She goes, you just like the ugly women. It makes me worry, man. But she goes, no, it's not. They're not ugly. They're just uncharacteristically what everybody usually goes for.
Well, see,
everybody I know is always.
I guess that's what I'm getting at. Is that I feel like, and I guess the subtext of what I'm saying is that they really imprinted real hard this concept of what is or isn't ugly. In a way that the average person on the street, you and me, doesn't actually internalize or identify. But what it does, it makes us feel bad about ourselves, man. Like, just thinking of it in those terms, it sort of sets us up to feel bad about ourselves.
Yeah. I kind of learned early on to, like, I don't know, myself personally, I realized early on my sexual persuasion is vaguely horny. And it's kind of the end of it, is I'm just vaguely horny all the time. So I don't... I'm attracted to humans, man. My mom did a pretty cool thing, and my grandma did a pretty cool. Like, I learned about the birds and the bees really young. We do it really young in my family because the girls have periods really young and shit. And like, 2 of my sisters had kids at like 15, so like, we get that talk out of the way pretty early. And I don't know. I got exposed to, like, I think the first naked forms I saw of the human body were in like an old hippie book that shows you everything. You know what I mean? Like every form of human body. And so my early imprints are like, humans are humans. We all have hair in places. We smell funky in certain spots. And as someone who, again, is my sexual orientation is vaguely horny. So I don't. It's well, yeah. I like it a little bit.
I feel like there's a woman trapped in my body, but she's a lesbian, so it's okay.
There you go. That's hey, be careful with that. It's Christine Weston Chandler. I don't know if you know about Chris Chan. Chris Chan was on some shit like that for a minute. Somehow transitioning and being homophobic at the same time is what Christine was doing at a period of time. What? It was weird. Yeah, Christine Chandler's an interesting rabbit hole to go down. Hours of Chris Chan material out there. Yeah, be ready to like cover yourself with the plastic sheet for fluids and your own safety. It's a big story with Christine Chandler. I'm talking hours of stuff. This is the most documented human in human history, I believe. This is the most documented human on the internet. In my opinion, Chris Chan invented Let's Plays, like the genre of playing video games online.
I just saw that movie. I mean, well, when it came out, I had seen that movie about the first guy to get the sex change operation. Mm-hmm. That was pretty intense. Interesting movie, man. Fascinating. You know?
I love the stories of people who are brave enough to kind of transition like that. I like that. Those stories. I've known a lot of people. Merc as a music product reaches a lot of different demographics in a surprising way sometimes. I get a lot of love from the Montreal trans community. Shout out all my Montreal queens out there, dude. You guys are the shit. I've had videos sent to me of my music being played at like drag shows and stuff. It's my favorite shit in the world. I love that community digs my music. And
getting off women. Okay, I promise you, getting away from the ladies as much as I loved them, and getting off of all the speaking that I used to do and I should be doing again. I want to ask you this, special too, especially special. You had mentioned, soap operas, and you're not talking about reality shows, but I'd like to talk about, what do you guys think of all the proliferation of all these fucking shows like Big Brother and shit? Because at 9/11, they said after that, reality shows were probably going to go the way of the dodo bird, because by then, everybody had too much reality lately with 9/11, so it was going to go back to regular stuff that we were used
I think
to.
That was just
Actually, it went like 30 times more.
No, that was just the media hoping that things would go back to how it had always been. Reality TV is super cheap to make, right? It just takes a good editor and 4 hours of B-roll.
Yeah.
And they can cut together a narrative. I don't watch it. It's not my thing. I know some people that are really into it, but to me, it's a bizarre form of narratized lifestyles of the rich and famous, or cribs.
Yeah.
With a story to it.
I've never seen a single episode, of the Kardashians, right? And you know what? I'm going to go ahead and add this because it's embarrassing. It's stupid. Don't know why I did it. But you could ask my old lady. Back in the time when 90210 was a big show, back in the 90s. Okay, that show, I just had decided. Well, also, another uncharacteristically beautiful woman to me is Janine Garofalo. Okay.
Oh, I love Janine Garofalo.
Not everybody's first choice though for a partner, but I would just love to have a little
Well,
time
yeah,
with
but
her.
look,
Anyway,
there's a whole class of folks that are into people that even remotely, vaguely resemble Daria.
Okay,
Like, just saying.
Well,
or Velma.
Velma, yeah.
Like, it's all the same thing. That's all the same archetype.
Well, you know what's funny? You said Velma,
I'm
right?
vaguely horny, so it works for me if it's there.
One of my very favorite ladies currently, she's just I told the kids, I said, I want you to meet your new your future ex mother-in-law, stepmother, and it's Linda Cardellini from those Scooby-Doo movies. She is gorgeous, right? She's on a Netflix show too now. But anyway,
I've seen her in so many things, but I can only ever think of Scooby-Doo. Go ahead, sorry.
Oh, well, no. When at one point she was taken over by a demon in that movie, and she had to put on a little string bikini. I was like, "Thank you."
Oh,
demon.
that movie was originally, they were going for an R-rated movie, I think, when they because that movie got cut way up. Like, that was originally supposed to be an adult comedy.
I can only wish. But anyway, so talking about the going back in the 90210, right? As stupid as this was, okay, I was smoking a lot of weed. I guess I thought I was more philosophical than I was. I told myself and the missus out loud, I said, I am never even going to look at that 90210 show. And it was because Janine Garofalo had done part of her bit at the time. The movie Speed had just come out, so she did some jokes about that. She said, Dennis Hopper's going to blow something up, And then she was talking about, I don't remember the names of the people in 90210, but she was saying how she didn't like that and how she's 30 something years old and oh yeah, Luke and the folks at 90210 aren't going to teach me anything about life. Fuck you. And that was my attitude because she said that. I said, yeah, I'm never going to watch that fucking show.
I'll tell you right now, I've only got so much time, and the older I've gotten, the less stuff I watch. That's just like, I haven't made a point to watch it because. Yeah, why am I going to take the time to watch a show that's about people who are like nominally 16 to 18, played by some 25-year-olds and aimed at 14-year-olds?
Yeah. It's like an OCD though. I actually went as far that if we went to somebody's house and they happened to be watching that show, I wasn't obvious about it, but I would literally keep my head down or somehow make sure I wasn't able to have to face the screen so that I could honestly say during the entire original run of that show, I never saw a single one.
That's
so ironically.
That's definitely OCD, but I also struggle with that exact same sort of thing.
Well, no, so funny enough, 35 years later, okay, my one daughter's 17, the other one's 25, and they're watching the new version of that show, right? So by then I'd kind of mellowed out, so I told them the story. I said, it's funny, man, when you ask your mom, I wouldn't even watch a screen that show was on. I was so trying to make sure that I never saw one, and I ended up successful. I never saw one, and now you guys are watching the new version, which has a few of the old people in it, and I sat down and I said, fine, I'll watch with you, fuck it. And I'm glad I didn't watch it originally because it's a bunch of shit. It's like a soap opera for teenagers,
Yeah, no, that's exactly what it was, man. I could not believe. Well, I mean, I guess in hindsight, I could. I grew up in the era that was still new, but I wasn't into it. I was still in high school, and I'm sure I saw an episode or two and just thought it was the most boring shit I'd ever seen about rich kids.
Well, my daughters turned me on to the Riverdale show, which is apparently a kinky version of Archie.
Dude, it's like if Archie was done by David Lynch. Like, I saw some of it and I found it interesting, but it didn't keep me hooked.
Yeah.
And I wondered how these high school students had a secret bar, underneath of this diner. They had a bar and there were a bunch of high school kids. But,
what's going on?
Whatever.
Hold on. Hey, we've got some news happening. Hold on just a second.
Couple weeks back,
sorry.
Oh no, you're okay.
He really didn't answer a lot of questions
from
the committee, and so that's why they moved
Screen
forward
shared
with this contempt report because they feel
news. What is it? Well, it's when they tell you about things that happen in your world.
No, assault on the Capitol.
Yeah, John, it's screen shared. Shh.
will try to appear again, we believe, sometime this weekend. That they will give him an opportunity to do that. And so for now, they are putting a hold on this contempt vote, even though it came out of the January 6th Select Committee and it passed. At this point, they're going to see how things go with Jeffrey Clark before deciding ultimately if this will advance to the full House floor for a vote.
And of course, as
so Jeffrey Clark just said "fuck you" to a subpoena.
Mark Meadows is cooperating with the investigation.
Well, they said Giuliani's almost certain to flip.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Somebody had asked, I think Ari Anthony, you asked earlier, yeah, do you think if Maxwell goes down, she takes people with her? And I think this is sort of tied to it.
Yeah.
I think that, yeah, she does. Pick whichever side doesn't cut her some sort of deal somehow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like there's two sides fighting behind here that are probably both implicated, and one of them's going to come out looking real bad.
Well, I asked you a question this morning. I wrote down a question on the Discord. Did you guys see it? I said, do you think that Maxwell being a female will cause her trial to go any different than it would have gone if it was Epstein?
If the defense has their way.
If the defense has their way, absolutely. I think that's a thing that they're going to try and weaponize. I think, it shouldn't. Like, it shouldn't. Right. I think the defense will probably absolutely utilize that.
They're looking to get these victims specifically to say that they didn't report Maxwell earlier because they felt like she was also a victim.
Yeah,
that's what the defense is hoping they can get these people to say. As I've read off like all the cross-examination as we've gone along, every time I read one of those articles, that's what I take away from it. Every time I read something the defense has done in their cross-examination, I'm like, yeah. There's Chris says, Mark, how do you not cough after taking a big bong rip? Christy, we've covered this. I'm dead inside. We've covered this. This is known. This is on the wiki.
It's practice.
This is on the wiki. I'm dead inside. There's nothing in here. It's just blackness. It's just darkness.
Excellent screen cap over here, by the way.
Oh, yeah, look at both of them making crazy eyes. Look at them getting on the Discord so everyone can see.
Oh,
look at my delicious screen cap. Bam. Sorry, guys. Sorry, news ladies. Oh, sorry, Terry Hatcher.
Yeah, no.
Sorry. It's a good example of someone on Facebook. That says Terry Hatcher, right?
I understand.
This is
Terry Hatcher. Hell yeah. I mean,
guess.
Even I have to fix man.
I mean, if I'm vaguely horny and it's there, I guess. I guess.
You ever see that Seinfeld?
Was she on an episode of Seinfeld?
I couldn't tell you.
Yeah,
she's been on so much shit that I found out she's not actually in.
I think my
No. She's in a Seinfeld. She plays herself, and she's in a sauna with Elaine, and they're having a conversation about whether her boobs are real or not. And finally, Jerry's trying to get to the bottom of it, so to speak, and he pisses her off, and she finds out what they've been asking. So as she's leaving, she goes, "Yes, they're real and they're spectacular."
Word.
Wasn't she on the Superman show?
Yeah. That's what I remember.
Was that back when she was on Lewis and Clark?
Yeah.
Lois and Clark?
Lois and Clark. Yeah. They were cross promoting, baby.
Oh, she had her time, I'm telling you.
No, I want to say, honestly, I believe that she did a Playboy spread at the same time.
If you got cool teeth, like really distinctive cool teeth, but you look like Terry Hatcher, now, to me, you look like Morena Baccarin.
I
like
she's
Morena
the one
Baccarin.
Now let me tell you. Okay, she's from Deadpool. Okay, see now you're getting into my territory because what happened was in the '90s. They made a book.
For Firefly.
Yeah.
You know that guy, Mr. Skin, who knows he has an encyclopedia knowledge of any time an actress has performed, wearing less in a movie. Okay.
No, I didn't know there was a person who did that.
Yeah.
I just assumed that was a website.
There's a website.
This guy's been on. It's a website, but this guy has been on like Howard Stern and everything.
Y'all didn't hear that from us. Sorry, John's not meaning to violate TOS, but you didn't hear that web address from us.
No. I'm sorry, but he actually made a book that you
I'm not a pornographer.
And no. Listen, it's not like that. It's art. Listen,
Mr. Skin's not. John, you might need to get a snacky poo.
Oh, come on, man. I'm not talking about anything dirty. Okay.
Oh, no. I know.
Yeah.
He wrote a book where he tells chapter and verse of where to find what you're looking for as far as, good photos. Like, okay, so that Bear, how did you pronounce her name? Bearclarn? What,
I know who you're talking about, but I don't know her last name.
Baccarin.
Yeah, I wanted to call her Baccarat, like the card game James Bond plays.
She played on the new version V that they did, and the lady who I was in love with, Diana, who from the '80s show, she ended up being the mother of her, and they were still lizard people. If you ever saw the show,
that show terrified me as a kid.
Yeah,
like as a child, that show did its job scaring the shit out of me.
Yeah.
Like looking back, trying to watch it, it's such a slow burn. But
yeah, but the new show they did was really awful.
Oh, Lux is here.
The best part about it.
Lux is
the best part about it was the lady you're talking about from Deadpool. That's all I was gonna say. No terms of service violation. But I do have to correct this. I do have to correct this special. I have to correct the special on the Miss Hatcher's work. She didn't do that. You were suggesting. She really didn't. She didn't do that. Okay, that's where I was going originally, and I'm sorry if it came off like I was going to say something.
Oh no, you're okay. You're okay. I could have swore she did, but
Yeah. For future reference, don't promote places you get anything illegal.
Oh no.
No. Listen, she didn't.
Oh, you're okay.
She didn't do that. Okay, but she had a movie that came out about that time, and the movie was like one of those they did a lot in the 90s.
Oh yeah, the direct-to-video fair.
Yeah, and so she did an erotic thriller that made it to Skinamax, and that might be what you're thinking about. That's all I was going to say. Sorry.
I mean, honestly, what I'm thinking of might have just been them taking pictures from that.
Yeah. And the funny thing was she was like 4 months pregnant at the time, or just enough that she was starting to show, she said, so she had to they had to shoot it in certain ways so that didn't come off.
Dude, the 90s were like that's something that people don't really talk about anymore, and that I think has been lost to time, is the sheer amount of like astoundingly low budget, made in the same 3 rooms, shitty direct-to-video stuff that they made in the 90s.
Yeah. Jameson thinks Ghislaine's being shanked. Jameson, elaborate. Do you feel like the defense feels like this is actually...
Oh my god.
You're okay?
This is actually a case for, this is Epstein's case?
Well, I have only peripherally been keeping up with headlines on it, Jameson, so I don't know what's going on in the court. I'd love for you to elaborate on that, because I'm big on keeping due process for everybody, even people I suspect are heavily in the wrong.
And by the way, hello, counselor.
But yeah, no, I'd like to know, because I'm a big fan on like actually have what you need to get them, especially when it seems so obvious in this case.
Yeah.
We'll see if you guys agree with me on this, okay? When OJ got let off the hook for the murder, okay? And then later on, years later, of course, about 2008, he gets in all that trouble for trying to steal his football stuff back or something. And he goes to court that time. It was sort of, now follow where I'm going on this, okay? It's not obscene. Okay, so he goes to court,
real quick to clarify, John, just so you know, the problem with what happened earlier is not that it was obscene.
Yeah, not the content.
It's that you promoted, and I just want to make real clear for the YouTube people who check this for the ad revenue, we do not condone or promote or consider anything on that website good or legal or okay. We're not sponsored by that website. Don't and then don't imply that it's good, John. We just don't. No. Yeah, we don't do that.
Okay. All right. I'm with you. You don't have to, bar me. I'm good. I got you.
Okay, Jameson. Hold on. Jameson just said that put simply, the judge isn't allowing these victims to be properly crossed. Trials like this are no place for kiddie gloves, which is absolutely true.
Yeah, that's very true.
Well,
that's very true. So I was wondering Jameson's opinion about the defense of Ghislaine, because he always speaks from the perspective of a defense attorney, and
Yeah, I don't want bad precedent set just because we don't. We pretty much all believe that this person is guilty, like because bad precedent can be utilized later.
Jameson's opinion on whether or not, much like the example I was giving of OJ, later on getting the book thrown at him, and partially maybe because the lady judge almost was like, yeah, here, now you're going to get some time back for that time you missed before. And I've seen them do the same thing with the Oscars. They'll give an Oscar to somebody who may not necessarily have deserved it for this movie that's being nominated, but they're giving it to them because maybe they passed over the person a lot in previous years. And
maybe that is the case. I would say that the underlying thing there is part of the reason that OJ was in the situation that he was stealing all that stuff back was because he won a criminal case and lost civil cases. I'm personally a believer that that's a backdoor to double jeopardy.
Yeah.
Like, to my mind, if you are found innocent in a criminal case, then that should preclude you having responsibility for it in a civil case.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I agree with that. What I was getting at, though, and again, that's why I also mentioned the Oscars thing. Okay, sometimes they'll give the Oscar to somebody who may not have been.
Well, that's what I was saying is that, yeah, you're probably right. Like, I think in some sense that once he was in that position, they definitely threw the book at him because the general consensus of the public was that he had gotten off and they were looking to capote him.
Yeah.
I think that probably happened. I don't think that's right.
Yeah.
Well, no, okay, so keeping that in mind, though, I'm wondering how much that'll make an imprint on this case, as far as where they say, well, we couldn't get Epstein, so let's fuck her.
Well, it's not going to make it. That's not going to make an imprint in that. That's just human nature. Like, there's not going to be a correlation between the two. It's just that some people may be that way. Like some judges, some jurors may be that way. Some may not. That's part of human nature and bias. I don't think there's there will be any direct legal link between the two. Let's see, what else does Jameson say? No. The Bill Clinton thing's been thoroughly discredited, and they allowed that. OJ, and he also says OJ got that time because he's an utter buffoon. Yeah. He wasted an absolute gift from Cochran and Schreck.
Yeah.
You can blame the judge, but he can piss off for wasting those talents' work.
Yeah.
And I think that from a legal perspective of not being in jail for murder, Jameson's right. I'm not trying to defend a murderer. What I am saying, though, is I think part of the reason he found himself in that situation is that it was functionally impossible for him in a context to survive in a meaningful sense afterward. When he's been stripped of all of his assets. He can't get a job. No one will hire him to do anything.
It was a public hit job on him after he got the case won by the establishment that didn't want him to.
Yeah, and I think that's what led him into... Well, look, man, I'm not defending it, but led a human being into the desperation that they would give away that fucking gift functionally.
Well, and this is what I'm getting at with the Rittenhouse shit.
Yeah,
like he kind of got a worse sentence being found not guilty.
Well,
with the public
I would say the difference is that, like Nick Sandmann, he's going to be suing some people, and he's likely to be winning.
Do you remember that?
Or at least settling for astounding amounts of money.
Do you remember that shot in the People versus O.J. Simpson where O.J.'s driving back home? And he's driving through Brentwood, and there's protests.
Yeah.
We don't want you here.
Yeah.
We don't want you.
No, he's going to have to live in a gated community.
Yeah, like it changes shit forever.
With Rittenhouse, he has the potential, unfortunately, from what I'm seeing in these stories I've watched, he has the potential now of parlaying that experience into where he's getting offered jobs by right-wing congressmen. Okay.
Yeah, no, he's got that, but like people just don't understand that he likely has some libel cases that even if they don't go to court, a lot of people will settle out of court to avoid being the example. You got me? And that's exactly what happened with Nick Sandmann. That kid walked away with like $100 million. And it wasn't, he didn't catch it nearly as bad as Rittenhouse did in terms of the media. So, I mean, everybody's feelings aside, I think that he's probably not going to have to take a job.
Well, listen, I have one more thing to say because I'm going to beam out of here. I'm going to go back to strictly listening, okay? But I want to say I'm down on one knee, please, Mark, okay? I humbly apologize for what I said before.
Well, man, he's off camera right now. But look, I can't accept it for him. But I know that he would, and probably then tell you it wasn't necessary.
Well,
and that you're good, you know.
Hold on, what was that?
Hold on. Here, hold on. He's about to be right back over here.
So I got
when I'm ranting,
my coffee.
When I'm ranting and raving like I do, okay, I just spew, okay? I don't really filter.
Like the term for it's info dumping in life. I think everybody that's sitting in front of a mic right now does it sometimes. Like I do it a lot.
So Mark, I just want to humbly, before I shove off again, I just want to humbly apologize for mentioning anything that could cause you a problem, man.
Oh no, you're fine, John. Again, if it was bad enough, I would have muted you and bounced you out of the voice chat. You're good, brother. That's something I can get out of the way by just clearly stating, like, we do not condone piracy of art. We do not condone websites where people chop up other people's art and post it illegally. We definitely don't condone anything as exploitative as the website that John mentioned, and we don't consider it good content here at Merc Radio. Just that, it'd be like somebody coming in and being like, "Hey, I pirated Kanye's new album from this website. It's great." I'm like, "No, dude, you can't do that here." You can't.
That's a terms of service thing, man. That's just
we don't condone piracy.
Once you guys illustrated it for me, I totally get it. I mean, I just have to sometimes have it put in front of me and see what you did. Okay, now I totally get it.
Same way. I'm the same way. I promise you.
Hey,
like that's not lip service. I promise you.
Yeah, and I don't bounce people that I feel like you didn't know that about. You're not as you've been in entertainment like I have. You know what I mean? Like there's things about the TOS. When I read YouTube TOS, I read it different than a lot of other people read it. Because I've read my first contract I've read. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I shouldn't tell you this. Okay, I shouldn't tell you this because it might cause you to say, well, then you can't show us these anymore. But on some of the modeling things I've gone on that are much like what you're doing here, but it's strictly about modeling, okay? They have that Ghostbusters type sign, the circle with the red line through it, that they say they have that on top of recasting. Okay, so that Frankenstein I showed you, that facehugger I showed you, and that Creature of the Black Lagoon I showed you were all recasts of kits that are no longer in production. And there is, believe you me, there is a huge argument, and that'll be going on for all eternity between guys who say, well, you know what? If you can't buy that thing anymore, and if you do find it on eBay, it's going for up to $1,000, okay, for that Creature of the Black Lagoon.
Yeah. If you come on my show and you want to show me some sick ass Nike Dunks you bought at Battery Park that are definitely bootleg Nike Dunks, that's not a problem.
Yeah, it has to do with the ability of providing people immediate access via a link.
Yeah, you can't just drop the name of the website.
That's what it is. Like,
you got to be as vague as you are about when you buy bootleg shit, John. That's how, because it's
okay. Well, you know what? Let me get you guys. As we mentioned it, let me get your opinion on this because the big war, and I'm not.
You're talking about the recast, like whether or not you should be able to recast. We have to deal with it in the computer, like the retro computer scene, because there's so much stuff that some big corporation might still own the copyright on. And I'm not just talking about game ROMs. I'm talking about like a BIOS to a computer they're never going to do anything with ever. There's no reason.
Yeah.
And technically it's controlled. And so you've got a huge amount of people who are like, well, no, you should buy original chips and dump them. That's the only way you should do that. And then a whole other group of people are like, well, no, it's fine for me to just get an image online and burn it into a chip.
Buy an off market or an aftermarket or
and it's the same argument. It's no longer available, hadn't been made in decades, and no one's gonna make it again. Why shouldn't I be? Like, who am I hurting?
Yeah.
Well, like the guys who argue back and forth, okay, a lot of them, and I can understand why it's more of a passionate argument on their part. A lot of these guys are the sculptors and creators and producers of what they call these garage kits, right? They usually have a limited run because of their homemade molds. They can only usually do about 40 or 50 if they're lucky before the molds start to break down.
Right.
And then they'll be available for sale at the places you know where to go all over the country. You order them, okay, and they might be $125. And the guy explained one time, he broke it down to where he's really not coming out of it with, if he's lucky, maybe $10 profit. Okay,
yeah, at most. Yeah, he's just doing it to get it out there.
Yeah, he's got to pay for the cardboard for the boxes and yada yada yada. Yeah. Well, the thing was, at the same token, okay, the real legit, manufacturers of some of these kits, like in this case, it was called Horizon Hobbies, okay, made all the Universal Monsters in vinyl kits in 1995. Okay, well, about a year later, they stopped producing them. And so now you go on eBay and you're going to pay $500 to $1,000 for it. Okay?
Yeah.
So now this guy from Thailand has all of these available, and yes, there might be a little tiny bit of next generation degradation because he prints it from an existing kit. And
right, like dumping off of a cassette. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like VHS tapes used to be. Each generation gets worse and worse. Mm-hmm. But anyway, but instead of paying up to $1,000 for a copy, I'm able to pay $18.95 plus shipping, and I get the same kit. So I have no problem with it. Now, the guys who produce those kits that I speak with, they can't stand it. But at the same token, they turn around and they will mold you and cast you a part for a kit that you might have lost the part to. So they'll do that as a favor, and they don't even charge anything if the guy's already casting stuff up anyway.
That's because look, people do this in the record industry, right?
Oh, sorry.
Oh, you're okay.
Mississippi abortion law special guest. Sorry, I got to round it back around. I've known a bit about bootleg models now for a minute. I got to kind of pin that topic down because we've covered that for probably 5-6 hours on the show in the past. So we're gonna let's check this out.
Mental, emotional, and physical well-being. It is.
Yeah, they're hearing.
They're pro.
They're hearing arguments now, but we're not going to hear for another month or two.
Gotcha. So the Supreme Court basically considers Mississippi. Okay,
yeah,
so
they're considering whether or not it's legal for them to. Like their argument is that it doesn't outlaw abortion, it just puts a time limit on it, and that it's not an unreasonable time limit. And so that has made it to the Supreme Court so that they can figure out basically, this goes back to like the mag ban argument I was saying earlier.
Yeah.
Can they do the same sort of thing? Can they limit the amount of time?
Okay. Shit.
Which 15 weeks seems pretty damn early to me.
Yeah.
But it's not like I think it's the Texas law, which is like 4 or 5, like meaningfully where by the time you found out, you're outside of it. Now, I'm not trying to support it. I'm just saying there's a difference here.
We've got okay, so it's not a televised fucking proceeding, so we're getting the sketches and stuff as it goes on. Okay, well, some I might have to follow just because it hits in Mississippi, you know what I mean?
Yeah, Jameson says Mississippi law will be upheld. You can take that to the bank. It's how far the ruling goes that is the open question. Damn. Honestly, yeah, that's how I'm reading it too.
Really,
like, not supporting it, just reading it.
Aren't they also trying to prosecute doctors who might assist in that?
I think that's the Texas case. I'm not sure.
I'm pretty sure that's Texas too. But yeah, they're trying to prosecute doctors that were which.
That is insanity.
Yeah, that's wild to me.
Well, the Texas law, like part of the reason they're going after the Texas law is because it turns everybody into a snitch.
Oh shit!
Yeah, like it's having people.
You can.
Yeah, they give you money.
They give you like a $10,000 cash reward for turning in people.
Oh shit! Snitches get rewards.
Yeah.
Oh shit!
There used to be like a whole fucking website.
Yeah. It's terrifying. It's terrifying.
That's the worst kind of
all I'm saying, guys, is don't conflate the two. I'm not saying they're not related, just don't conflate them so that you do know the facts about each one.
Yeah. U.S. finalizes plans to reinstate Trump-era migrant policy.
God, that sounds like the communist trials in the 50s. You turn somebody in, you don't get on the list,
Oh yeah, absolutely. No, I'm terrified of that shit.
With respect to non-Mexican nationals who may be arriving on land seeking to enter the United States from Mexico illegally or without proper documentation, individuals subject to this action may return to the United States as necessary.
So basically, it's like, did you make it to anything that's part of the UN treaty? Well, then you can declare, you can ask for refugee status in there, like in that country, while you wait to see if it's processed in the U.S., which is what we had been doing under Trump the whole time.
Okay. So Biden administration appeals judge's order to reinstate. Okay, so they're appeal.
Oh, yeah. Now,
okay. So
my personal view on this is that this is actually
I'm like, why is Biden finalizing and reinstating?
Well, I think one of the reasons that you didn't see Biden actually stop what was going on and still are detaining people in cages is because subtextually part of what's happening is that all of these people have been weaponized within this hybrid warfare strategy, no different than what they're doing in Poland and Belarus, except the difference being it's not 4,000 to 5,000 people. It's I think at this point we're at 1.5 million people this year.
Okay, gotcha.
Right, and like 1.5 million people suddenly showing up in a time period while the country's burning is a great way to help destabilize this too. If you're thinking like an enemy, like not blaming anybody who's showing up either. They have been weaponized partially due to our strategies for 40 to 50 years, at least 60, 70 years in Central and South America, and I want to be clear.
Yeah.
So they're caught in the middle of it.
I wanted to play something for you, special guest, while we have you and Jameson here, because I wanted your opinion on what they're trying this kid with. Again, he's being the 15-year-old shooter from the was it Oxford High?
Yeah, they're giving him like 4 counts of murder, 7 counts of attempted, trying him as an adult and giving him 7 counts of terrorism or some amounts of counts of terrorism.
Yeah, and I really wanted Jameson's opinion on this.
It's so early in this because he's not talking. The police don't even have a motive because his parents told him, do not talk to the police.
Oh, shit.
His parents bought him the gun.
Well, see, that's what I was wondering.
Day,
the way the news reported on it.
He was in a meeting with his parents in the school about his behavior.
Yeah, see, that's what they say in this.
Which I could be wrong, I don't know, but it seems to me that implies that he brought the gun basically to the meeting.
That's how it seemed, like it was in his backpack at that meeting.
Yeah. And once again,
not to be an idiot, but are you talking about the case that just happened the other day?
Yeah. The one in Oxford.
Covered a journal detailing his desire to shoot up a school. Prosecutors describing how the suspect first entered a bathroom with a backpack and came out holding a gun.
Yeah, so this is a kid that's been planning on doing a school shooting that his parents did not secure a weapon and in fact purchased for him despite knowing he had behavioral issues.
There has to be some kind of mental health defense for this kid, I would think. Look, did he do something terrible? Yes. But he seems 4 counts of murder as an adult.
Guys, I've already said before that I'm a firm believer that once you're an adult is when you should be tried as an adult, and otherwise you should be tried as a child and have to deal with probably a fair amount of being held in a mental health facility when you do something like this because you've demonstrated you're a profound danger. But I don't think prison's a good fix for damn near anything, much less for anyone who's a child. And I understand that is no comfort whatsoever to the families of people who were just killed.
Some of those students stayed home from school, but nobody.
I just, man, like that's a kid. That's a supremely fucked up kid, but that's a kid.
That's how I felt about this case in particular. I'm like, man, he's 15. These children that passed are also young.
This is going back to what we were talking about like a couple weeks back, and I'm like, well, I mean, there's got to be a point that you just say this is when we start trying you as an adult. Like laws are made of arbitrary numbers.
Yeah, very true.
Terrorism charges because the impact of the shooting is so
widespread. This here at the end
had to hide or run for their lives, plus the trauma all their families experienced. The prosecutor stressed
there were social media posts and some people didn't go to school.
Michael?
All right, thank you so much for that.
I saw a video. I saw a video by the kids.
Yeah.
Like they've been so on that. How did that happen?
That's why I'm kind of like, man, this one's a little weird. Like, I don't know. He's being tried as an adult. He's 15. But the way the press reported it wasn't that the parents bought him that gun. It was that the father owned that gun, and I think they said in court that the kid took it.
I mean, they should have had it locked up. You got a kid with behavioral issues.
Yeah, they're already hitting pretrial because they're facing charges.
Like demonstrated behavioral issues. I understand anyone can suddenly display it.
Yeah, but I think if
you
anyone
get kids in the
potentially
house, man.
adult
Why do you not
charges,
have your guns locked up?
Yeah, but he might. I mean, I don't know. I was wondering how you guys felt particularly about that father catching that gun charge, because I feel like that's kind of rightful. I think that's the only charge that seems right in the situation.
I think that's super appropriate.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Like honestly, it would make more sense to tie the father to a form of at least like multiple cases of negligent manslaughter due to this.
Yeah,
because of being the catalyst that provided the weapon that could have been secured for fucking $20 worth of cheap Walmart safe that you screwed to the right place.
Yeah, James says, I don't know.
Hey, let me get your opinion on something.
Mm-hmm.
Did you guys see that footage last night of the guy in a wheelchair who's trying to shoplift at Walmart, and the cops shot him in the back 9 times, and he rolled out of the chair and hit the floor?
No. I try to avoid I try to avoid watching that at this point. I've seen so much types of footage like that, but that seems on brand for a lot of the cops.
Yeah.
I mean, what did they say they were worried he was reaching for?
Yeah. Oh, James says he needs more information about the parents. People used to call for Sue
Klebold to be prosecuted, and I've always thought she was as innocent as you can be.
That's how I felt about Sue Klebold. Yeah, in the Columbine situation.
Hey, like my main thing is it's not an automatic thing that because you bought a gun. It's did you not have it secured, or can you demonstrate you had it secured and they managed to circumvent it? Because that's a whole different thing. Like a smart kid's going to be a smart kid, and if you took measures. Dude, you can only second guess them so far.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Well, did you special tell us about a case where long ago where a school shooter was literally lived like across the street from the school and was sitting there and I think it was even a girl maybe, and did some shooting, from like off the doorstep or whatever, and it became a song, and they asked why she did it or he did it, and they said because it was Monday.
Oh, I know the case you're talking about. Yeah, they became the song I Don't Like Mondays. That was a reason. No, that was back in the 70s.
Yeah, it's old.
That was back in the 70s. Now I don't think I told that story, but I am aware of it.
That's crazy. Wow.
Oh, well, dude, this, and the thing is, this type of violence is actually been everywhere there's ever been weapons the whole time, as near as I can find. You can find school shooting in Germany in this century, and they've made I can't imagine a more gun controlled country than Germany.
Yeah.
Like they had like you can own a handgun, it has to be locked up at a shooting club.
Yeah.
Italy
sounds pretty strict.
Italy.
Depends from Zimmy. Oh, again, I don't know if I've updated you.
What's up with Zim?
We need to send Zimmy a photo of us just to say what's up. I miss him. He's been working his ass off. He's been busy in the studio night and day.
Okay, no, I had hoped that was what was going on.
Yeah, he'd been grinding. His partner got sick. I was really worried he got sick, and hella glad he's not. He's grinding. He's out there being a production soldier, dude. He's doing it all. He's doing all of it.
Jameson says, let the emotions subside, and then I think the proper decisions concerning the parents can be made. And I think that's the appropriate course of action. Yeah. And I will say, like, my feeling is, once again, if you've got a kid who in this case, we know that they knew he had problems. The terrorism charge is the right decision because of the countdown on Instagram.
Yeah,
he threatened terror, which forced parents to keeping their kids home, and still committed a mass killing.
The terrorism charge makes sense to me. That seems appropriate too. But again, being charged as an adult with it seems a bit. He's 15. I don't know where my line of compassion is. I guess I haven't quantified my actual opinion on this.
Dude, I had people. My friend Tyrone was shot before he was 15 by somebody who was younger than 15. It happens. We still, to my mind, have to call them kids.
Yeah.
And that goes all the way up. Are you 17 years and 365 days on a leap year?
Fuck.
Well, then, then no, you still, because that number doesn't really mean anything in terms of maturity.
No.
And we all know the number doesn't mean anything, but we got to pick one.
Yeah.
We got to pick one for fairness sake.
Yeah.
And
should Rittenhouse have been tried as a kid?
I thought he should. I thought he should, and I'm going to tell you right now, that's my feeling.
Yeah.
But keep in mind, dude, I think that my feelings about that whole case aren't just complicated. I don't feel like I feel as hot as most people do about it.
Oh yeah.
And I'm real big on disassociating myself from horrible things to try and look at what to my mind, the best course of action for everybody from a legal standpoint. Like, setting a legal precedent in the middle of really high emotion is always, to my mind, been demonstrated to be a bad plan over time.
Unholy Kev in the chat just said he's this hits hard. Oxford is an hour from me every school
in the area today has had copycats today sending threats and schools being locked down today.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah, so it's
now, look, there's a conspiratorial part of me that wants to get in trouble right now.
Damn. Oh shit, La Palma's still being crazy, dude. We were reporting on La Palma forever.
Oh yeah. No, it hasn't stopped. Apparently they're worried about Yellowstone too.
That makes sense.
So,
what's La Palma?
In Spain, it's the volcano there, and it's been going off like you would not believe for weeks.
Oh yeah,
more than a month now. We were covering it. I've done probably 3 or 4 streams where La Palma's the kind of starting point.
I remember that.
Well, and they say there's a giant amount of magma moving around right now in a way that's like shifting continents.
Fuck.
Wow.
I know that Spain had a whole extra chunk of Spain that you could see now.
There's more Spain now.
More Spain now. They got more real estate. Well, they will once it cools down. It's just piping hot.
It's some very fresh real estate.
Man, I know Zimmy was pretty spooked because, he's in Florence. There's Vesuvius.
Yeah.
Fairly close to him.
Well, I'm guessing the people near mountains. Any sort of spacecraft has a low frequency generator on it that replicates that, because without it in space, people start getting sick and going crazy.
Whoa.
So one of my favorite conspiracy theories is, like, we don't directly perceive the Schumann resonance anymore because it's functionally jammed by all of the electromagnetic radiation we jam into the world. Whoa. You have to be functionally, to have it directly influence you, you need to be bare feet underneath a Faraday cage.
Whoa.
Or deep underground.
You gotta actually turn yourself into an antenna for it.
Which might be why the world seems to be going crazy, if we're just talking super conspiracy.
I like that. Well, we're gearing up.
What's a Faraday cage?
A Faraday cage is a big metal cage that's grounded out, and anything within it doesn't get affected by an electromagnetic pulse or electric radiation. It basically catches it and grounds it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's like they kept Magneto in.
Absolutely. Your microwave has one, right? Yeah. That's like, it is a Faraday cage, and that's what keeps you from getting cooked.
Yeah, keeps your stomach from busting. Your insides just exploding.
Now, see, there was one of those urban legends, okay, back in the day when microwaves were just coming into play. And supposedly, and all you gotta do is go to Snopes and they'll tell you it's bullshit. But I grew up hearing this and believing it, that a dude was demonstrating a microwave like at a Sears and actually cooked his hand somehow.
Listen, I'm going to tell you right now, both of us know how to rebuild microwaves.
Yeah.
And if they're not put together right, you have a radiation device in your house, my friend.
Yeah.
I'm not at all trying to scare anybody, but quality control wasn't then what it is now. And they made some serious damn microwaves.
We're not trying to scare you, but if you gave special guests and I a couple of Phillips head, we could blow you up. We could blow you up. We could fuck you up. Your whole house. Sorry. But yeah, we've been maintenance men. Yeah, once you actually take apart and put back together a microwave, you see that shit's weird.
Yeah, no, like in fact, look online, you can find on YouTube videos of people who like break microwaves so that they can turn them on and demonstrate with their microwave detectors and stuff.
Yeah.
Like it's wild.
Yeah.
It's wild. No, like
how about that guy who killed his mom because he liked to put things and videotape him putting things in the microwave and blowing them up, and his mom happened to walk in the kitchen and she got killed? That was pretty recent.
I didn't hear about that, but I've been waiting on something like that to happen because of the sheer amount of watch me microwave this stupid stuff videos on YouTube.
Oh, dude, the fucking
that's what he was doing. That's what he was doing. He was filming himself put things like cans of paint or whatever in the microwave and cooking it, and his mother walked into the kitchen right when one of his projects blew up.
Like, first, look, I'm not going to say don't do it. I'm going to say maybe have a shed in the backyard that's painted with old school lead paint. A lot of old school lead paint. That would be my suggestion. Do it out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, they're like I have definitely violated some OSHA rules in my life, but you know, there's a safe way to do things. like even wildly unsafe things.
Yeah. Sometimes in maintenance in Arkansas, when you're training a maintenance person, you got to be like, here's how I'm going to do it. Here's why you shouldn't let any inspector ever see you do it this way.
yeah, the rules are way different there than out here, though.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Out here it's tight as hell, and we have there's a whole different infrastructure of innovation for living in the desert.
Yeah.
Like evaporators that recycle the water into the city.
Oh man, no, I really like it out here. We'll see.
Cool
we'll see how I feel about a full summer instead of the hottest part to the end, though.
I miss it so bad. I miss the 107.
Oh, I like the heat. Like I grew up in Mississippi, and it ain't humid here. I like the heat.
I miss watching people melt. Oh, what up, Michelle? She got her first doctor's appointment with her baby?
Yeah, she says everyone. So my daughter and I have our first doctor's appointment together in a couple of days. They want to make sure Rose and I are okay and healthy after childbirth. Excellent.
Oh,
that is so good to hear.
Yeah, it really is. There's a new Murky, dude. Rose is all the love in the world. Everybody send positive vibes Michelle's way. I remember the first doctor's appointment baby mama went to after my son was born, and she had an interesting situation because her regular OB, the person who was going to deliver, had a baby like the same time, I think.
Oh God.
Yeah, like she showed up at one of the checkups before my my ex-wife, my baby mama gave birth. Pregnant as hell, like almost 9 months. We were like, what the hell? She's
so huge.
She's like, I've been hiding it this whole time. I'm pregnant. Like, oh shit.
Wow.
We never noticed. You hit it really well. But hey, we are at 3.5 hours, John. We're going to round this show down. We're going to get ready for the tattered map and be back on live here in just a bit.
Benton, what's our topic today?
Miserable shit.
Miserable
it's really like, if you thought, I hate to put it this way, but yeah, it's basically like a late 70s, early 80s Epstein situation that nearly took down the entire British government.
Yep. It's
miserable.
Right.
I'm not promising any. Like I would have made this one twice as long because there's another case that takes place about 8 years later related to it.
Yeah.
Or another dossier. And we'll do that next week because I had to take a break.
Yeah.
This was a lot.
Episode 5 and 6 are going to be a continuing. It's going to be a legit part 1 and 2.
Yeah.
So today's episode will be part 1 of a pretty
it'll be part 1. Today's the Dickens dossier,
yeah.
And then next week will be the Castle dossier, and then I'm probably not going to be coming back to that subject because I will have demonstrated that it's a thing that exists. And holy fuck, man!
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Sounds
Yeah, you have a good one, John B. Hey, Justin, thank you for being here. We had Iro in here before earlier. Shout out everybody. Christy hopped in the voice chat for a bit. Love all of you fools hopping in the voice chat and keeping us company here at Merc Radio. I love you all. And everybody out there in digital world, quick reminder before we go out, we're brought to you by Atlas VPN and BARKBOX. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. If you're not getting your notifications, resubscribe, hit that bell, baby. YouTube's always changing things up and it messes up that bell.
Yeah, I had to do it yesterday.
Yeah, make sure you got notifications set to on if you're a Merc Radio subscriber. And you should have no problems. You guys have a good day. And like, share, and subscribe. I'm going to say it again.